Morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to round 3 of the women's series of the Zwift Grand Prix. We are 2 rounds down, and this week we have a new format again for you. It's squad skirmish. Similar to round 1, the riders will be racing in smaller races, but this time 5 racers from each team will be spread across 3 events. Teams will be placing riders in the formats that suit their strengths, where having 2 riders in a race might be better than having just 1. With a variety of race lengths from 300 meters to 10 kilometers, we are going to once again see the strength of individuals and hopefully see some new strategies in Zwift racing today.
Yeah, that's right, Nathan. Each team will need to place 2 riders in 2 of the races and 1 rider in the other. If the team gets the balance right, there's a lot of points that they can scoop up and certainly have a good result here in round 3. We start off with the qualifiers where all 12 teams will be involved, but only 5 teams will punch their ticket into our finals. This one is really going to be epic.
Although we know that a lot of you are coming back week after week, some of you might be dropping in for the first time and wondering what exactly is the Zwift Grand Prix. Well, this is a new series from Zwift which has 6 rounds of regular season. It's going to be culminating in a final round of racing March of 2023. Each week of racing will feature brand new event formats. These have never been seen before in cycling, with the aim of bringing the excitement of esports to this new cycling genre.
Yeah, you can really expect the racing to be more strategic, more gamified, more specialized, and to be honest, more exciting than ever. We've got 24 of the world's best Zwift teams. They've been raring to go each week. They actually helped to design these courses and this format that's really unique and has benefited everybody involved.
Yeah, each round will feature men's racing one week and women's racing the following week, as we've seen the past 3 weeks or so. With these new formats, though, you're going to know the teams, the individuals, the head-to-head battles better than ever, because every rider has to contribute in order to gain points and accumulate them over the season in order to get them into the grand final.
And of course, there's plenty for you to do at home as well. So make sure you head on over to Zwift.com/racing to see what is on offer. Whether you're looking for your first race or you're logging into an event and dropping power-ups on a daily basis, we'll love to see you out there.
Last week's men's round 3 was absolutely amazing. Let's get right down into round 3 for the women of the Zwift Grand Prix. Let's check out what we have coming at you today. Squad skirmish, round 3 of the Zwift Grand Prix. This is race number 1 for today, 0.3 kilometers. It's a sprint race right from the piers. It's going to be pens to the Watopia lap arch, raced 4 times. Event 1, 3, 5, and 7 are what you're going to be seeing this race for. It's going to have 24 to 12 riders, depending on how many riders the teams put in the pens. It's going to be 1 or 2 for each of the teams that they can put in. Finish line, 1st through 6, 6 to 1 points. Let's see what's up next.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Race 2. This is going to be very interesting as we'll be heading over to Tempest Fusion. Time flies on Watopia. They're going to be racing from the pens to the rock arch, that very familiar arch. They'll be out there 2 different times here in our qualifiers. And watch out, there's a lot of points on offer from 12 down to 1. So only the heavy hitters need to apply for this one, Nathan.
Yeah, Tempest Fusion, 2.2 kilometers. That's going to be really interesting to see how the tactics play out. Probably the most tactical race of the day. But race number 3, it's the hill climb. Forward Watopia Hilly Climb, 1.9 kilometers, right from the pens over to the hill climb arch for the KOM. It's going to be raced 2 times. It's going to be event 4 and event 8. You're going to want to be putting your punchy climbers on this course, 2 to 1 riders. So that's going to be 24 down to 12 riders that could get involved. 12 down to 1 points for 1st through 12th. Watopia Hilly forward for race number 3.
I absolutely love this squad skirmish format. Now, after those races, the teams that punch their ticket into the finals, this is the first race four that they'll be contesting. Power ups come into play. You can see Arrow, Invisibility, Burrito, and Draft. Very familiar there. Points awarded from 10 down to 1 on this long ish 9.4 kilometer test with 109 meters of climbing.
And race number 5 for the squad skirmish. This is a part of the finals. Again, 10 to 5 riders will be in this, and they're going to be taking off from the pens in Watopia down on the piers and then heading on over to the volcano circuit. It's going to be a sprint race for 2.7 kilometers, only 20 millimeters of elevation. This one, again, pretty tactical, similar to race number 2 that was almost on Tempest Fugit. 10 down to 1 points awarded with Invisibility and Burrito. Let's move on to race number 6.
One of the beautiful things about racing on Zwift is you can do things you could never do in real life. And here's a great example as Quatch Quest comes into play. This is going to be brutal. 5.1 kilometers. It's 122 meters of climbing. And you can see that the points are going to be critical out here as it'll all be done and dusted on Watopia as we wrap up squad skirmish for the women. So let's take a look at the teams that will be competing in today's event.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Yeah, let's take a look at these teams that we have taking on the squad skirmish today. It's going to be Aeonian that's out there, and they're bringing the current world champion to the line today. It's going to be Beast Mode presented by Rose, Coalition Alpha, Movistar E-Team, Roca Corba Collective, Saris, No Pins, Socks for Watts, Team Swedish Zwifters, Toyota Cryo RDT, Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024, and last but definitely not least, Wahoo Lacole out there today.
You couldn't ask for a better mix of teams than what you have there, Nathan. All right. So they've been racing hard out here. We're into week 3 for the women. The men have already completed their 3rd week of racing. So as we head into squad skirmish, let's see how things stand right now for the women. It has been fantastic racing, and you can see Nathan mentioned Los Atakis to be racing today, the world champion, Aeonian on top of the table as well. So good time for her to show up and help defend. Wahoo Lacole brings their A team once again. This is going to turn out to be one of the greatest battles in esports history that we're looking at here between these two monster squads. Now, waiting in the wings, and you can see it is really tight through here. Sarah Snowpin sitting in 3rd, Movistar 4th, Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 in 5th. Basically deadlocked here with Socks for Watts. Beast Mode presented by Rose, I would say, is the final team in that grouping of 5 that'll be fighting for 3rd as it stands now. We still got a long way to go with Toyota Cryo in 8th, Swedish in at 9th, Coalition Alpha 10th, Roca Corba Collective in 11th, and we're actually going to say goodbye to Arrow this week as they've pulled from the series.
Well, that was the series point standing so far. Let's take a look at the riders in each one of the races. It's Angela Roberts taking on race number 1 for Aeoni, and that's going to be the sprint from the piers. Polona Itkin for race number 2 alongside Ariel Varharin. That's on Tempest Fugit for those 2 riders. Luis Adagis, the current world champion, and Eva Van Ut for race number 3. Aeonian's roster, that's it for the first 3 races to try and get into the finals.
Now we look at the perennial podium contenders. Beast Mode presented by Rose. In race 1, they're going to start 2. This will be dangerous. Pia Coomer and Kimberly Miller. Race 2 is their solo rider, Julia Valkenhorst. Then race 3, we're back to 2 for Rose Beast Mode with Gabriella Schumann and Alicia Haag. That's Rose Beast Mode.
Next up, it's Coalition Alpha not taking on race number 1 because they've only got 3 riders today, so they're going to have to really stack the front end of the field. But in race number 2, it's going to be Katharina Machner and Agata Fleece taking on Tempest Fugit, trying to take some top spots, get a lot of points. Stephanie Sidlick, a great climber. We'll see how she can do to keep Coalition Alpha in it for race number 3. That's Coalition Alpha.
Yeah, tough choices had to be made there. Movistar goes big now with Elisa Hermansson taking the start along with Jessica Edqvist in race 1. So this is a new strategy we're seeing from the women here in squad skirmish. Race 2, also the double dip with Mika Soderstrom and Haley Simmons. And finally, race 3 sees Marlene Bjarhed taking the start for Movistar.
going to be Roca Cobra Collective next, Tennille Auto, and for race number 1, Rian Denton and Charlie Berry for race number 2. Courtney Webb and Kat Ridgway taking on the climbs for race number 3. That's Roca Cobra Collective today in the squad skirmish.
All right, so now we get a chance to look at Sarah's no pins with Jen Reel. She's on great form right now, taking the start for race 1. Race 2, this will be Morgan Useni and Eleanor Weissman. Race 3 for Sarah's no pins sees the mighty Liz Van Houweling and Anna Russell out in New Zealand. That's Sarah's no pins.
Next up, we've got Socks for Watts, and it's going to be their top sprinter, Katie Loker, Miss 14 herself, taking on race number 1. Ruth Shire and Alice Lethbridge taking on the tactical Tempest Fugit today for race number 2. Lou Bates and Goxie Paul taking on the climbs for Socks for Watts in race number 3.
All right, thanks, Nathan. Now we move to Team Swedish Zwifters, an OG squad for sure, and Anna Svardström will be in race 1. She's their sprinter. Race 2, a different kind of sprinter here with Sarah London and Anna Emring. And then race 3, watch out for Petra Kjellberg and Gabriella Norden. Team Swedish Zwifters in full effect.
Next up, it's going to be Toyota Priority T for race number 1 on the sprint, Harriet Gilson. It's going to be Ursulia Barovskaya there and Lucy Harris for race number 2 on Tempest Fugit. Chiari Donnie and Charlotte Polkloff are taking on the climbs for Toyota Priority T for race number 3.
We'll be keeping our eyes on Virginia Blue Ridge 2024, and in race 1, it's the Cuban missile, Marlise Mejias. Let's see what she can do out there. A lot of points on offer. It's going to be race 2 with Marion Lawson and Emily Ehrlich. Race 3 sees perennial podium contender Kristen Kolchinsky with Lena Wuyan. That's Virginia Blue Ridge 2024.
And last but not least, are currently second overall in the series, Wahoo Lacole. And for race number 1, they're doubling up with their sprinters, Catherine Furr and Cora Lee Arthur. Race number 2 for Tempest Fugit, it's going to be Zoe Langham and Lizzie Brooke taking on that tactical flatter race. And it makes a lot of sense because Lindsay Cassie has been so dominant for the Queen of the Mountains across this Zwift Grand Prix so far. So for race number 3, that's going to be Wahoo Lacole for today. We're jumping right down into the pens. We should be jumping right into the race here, and it's going to be that first sprint race. There is no draft on the sprint race from the pens in Watopia, so it's going to be interesting to see for these 300 meters what the tax will be playing out here, Dave. It's a pretty much just everything you got right from the line. You've got to ramp up, I think, Dave, those watts as we saw last week. Everything you had the moment it was from go.
Yeah, it's an absolute explosion off of the line, and that's what we're waiting for. It's like a ticking time bomb right now in these pens. There's an immense amount of sprinting talent here. Nathan, you make a great point now. This is a 300-meter time trial. Everybody starts at the same time, so you can gauge yourself off of the other athletes, but there is no draft. So tactically, throw that out the window. This is who is the strongest woman, and here we go. We have launched. So, Nathan, what we learned was you go hard immediately, just bury the accelerator down on the floorboard, and it certainly looks like Katie Loker herself is on the front, but this one's going to go right to the line.
Roberts trying to come around Loker, but Loker looks like she's going to be able to hang on. It's going to be Loker. Katie Loker makes it happen. I know she's been looking for that for a while, for a place to shine with that sprinting prowess that she has. It was almost there for Roberts, but not quite. It's a pure wattage fest out there when it comes to that 300 meters, Dave. What a race by Loker.
So they'll be doing this 4 times here in the qualifiers. We'll look at the points and how they scored. So what we saw in the men's event, now the men raced in the squad skirmish format for the first time ever last week. So the women have watched and they're learned. We're going to take a look at a replay first to see how things played out. Again, it was just an explosion, a wattage bazooka is Katie Loker. You don't call her Ms. 14 for nothing, Nathan, and she certainly backed it up. It's important to remember there is no draft out here today in this race.
It looks like behind now the fight behind there was going to be Kathian Fuhr and from WLC and Pia Kummer. It's going to be Loker, though, gets the immediate jump and just holds all the way to the line. It's interesting, Dave, what we've seen so far from these pens over and over again is that initial kick. It seems that the speed downhill really holds all the way. I don't know if we've seen too many situations where the rider who takes that initial gap has really been caught so far.
Well, in a lot of that, think the 100-meter dash in track and field, it's your start that is so critical, that timing. And that really comes down to instinct that these athletes have learned. So Katie Loker is not only making the power, but she's got the timing right. I'm going to expect that we'll see. So this is where taking an in real life sprinter like Marlies Mejias, it's interesting to see how she's adapting and learning in this field. So, all right, Nathan, let's take a look at the points now. Is again scoring from 6 down to 1. Loker with 6. Angela Roberts, that's a nice start for the AON rider. We're going to hear a lot more about Roberts with 5. Furr with 4. Coomer ending up with 3. Gilson takes 2. Last point left on the table, scooped up by Coralie Arthur there, as it'll be Otto. I'm a bit surprised, to be honest, that the Cuban Mejias does not pick up any points there. But Nathan, that's how it stands after our first of 8 events in our qualifiers.
Maybe a little bit of a learning curve about how incredibly important the jump from the line actually is, how early you have to start. Now, did some of the riders get a little bit of a surprise about how much power has to be, maybe even from 5 seconds out? How much, like, when is that exact timing to not lose any power on the back end of that 300 meters, yet come in with as much kick as you possibly can? So it's really interesting to see that Loker able to walk away with this. Maybe she'd been practicing this for as far as the timing goes. But will these riders, they have 4 chances at this. Will they change up their tactic a little bit? Was it just a pure, like, is that the reality of where things are going to be at for the next 4 races? Or is something going to be learned here where riders are going to be able to have a little bit different tactic as far as when they put that power down and how much they can kick from the line? I think is going to be one of the questions to answer over the next 3.
Squad skirmish is a brand new format. So what we saw with the women's teams was a couple of them putting 2 riders into this race 1. Now, there's limited points, but the repetition is greater. We saw in the men's race, Simon Nordahl Svensson picking up 24 points for his team. He cleaned up, winning all 4 sprints. Can Katie Loker do the same? I wouldn't bet against her, to tell you the truth. After what we just saw, I think that Roberts was really the only rider at her level in that first sprint. But I'm anticipating, again, a dark horse like Mejias will get this right before we're done out here. They've got 3 more cracks at it, but we've also got to look forward as well now, because that shortest distance nation, they're barely racing 1 kilometer here in our qualifiers. When you add and stack up the 4 different events, it's about 300 meters per, little bit longer for the next 2 races that we'll be looking at here, but they don't race quite as often. The points distribution has been very, very interesting here as we make our way into the meat and potatoes part of the season here. This is the 3rd of 6 races for the women now.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the stacking of this sprint. We didn't see that in the men's racing at all last week. We saw just 1 rider in for the sprint. There's only 6 places available. It's interesting that some of these teams from the women's side of things, they really put a lot of chips on the table when it came to this sprint. It's going to have to end up paying off. We did see a couple of teams, I believe, in that top 6 grab 2 up. So they put a lot of weight in this sprint there, and it's paying off for a couple teams. But some of the teams, 0 and 0 for 2 riders that are I think Movistar E team there, they got nothing on the table for 2 riders sacrificed to this first race. Hopefully they can learn something or bring some more power to these later races, because that was a lot of stake to put on this first race.
Completely agree. But this is, again, the risk and the reward that we see. The teams help design these format of racing, and it has been absolutely tremendous to see the excitement level building. It's become much more complicated, which makes things much more fun. We're going to go right into the pens as it's time for our second of 8 qualifiers. Only 5 of the 11 teams will advance into our final. But Nathan, let's take a look at riders to watch out here.
Yeah, and as we get right going from the start, we did see last week, WLC did make a kick right from the go. Are they doing it again with Lizzie Broke? It looks like they are. I do see Lizzie Broke on the front. An mistaken avatar with the red hair. You were saying a couple weeks back, she probably matches the most when it comes to in real life to her avatar. Now it does get caught really quickly. Alice Lethbridge just shuts it down, but Lethbridge goes to the front. 7.5 watts per kilogram. This is, Dave, this is no joke, and it's being shut down. Every single woman here does not want to let this go. They are not letting a Timothy Rugg-like situation pull away, or an Alice Lethbridge now situation pull away, but looks like she is committed to this. Is this because there's only one socks for watts here, Dave? And she just wants to try and break them immediately. She calms down.
Yeah, it's certainly, she's going to play into her strength. She goes out hard, just kind of serving notice that no one gets a free ride out here today. Haley Simmons has been phenomenal. I mean, absolute breakthrough rider. Going to keep an eye on her. So much talent in this field. I see Emily Ehrlich is back. It's nice to see the rider out of Detroit, Michigan, re-emerging here, as she also in real life has a very strong sprint. Nathan, all together now as we make our way through the middle part of the race. This will be done and dusted very quickly out here. But it looks like now Zoe Langham, who was the breakthrough rookie of the year last year in the ZRL, and Langham is back and absolutely crushing it. That's Wahoo Lacole to the front. Zoe Langham taking over. I'll throw it back to you, Nathan, as Haley Simmons is going to be making a move. You know it's coming.
Yeah, Zoe Langham made a move there, then was covered very quickly by Simmons, brought it back. Now Langham got brought back into the pack. Simmons over the top, now pushes 8.1. But the roll through and the churn from the pack there, Simmons is kind of wasting energy actually at this point, because that's not going to go anywhere, because she pulled the pack up, it churned to the front, and now it's all going to roll right on through. I was incorrect earlier. Ruth Shire is in here for socks for watts, so Alice Lethbridge was maybe looking to set up Ruth Shire for a sprint while making the rest of the pack chase her, similar to what we saw Rugg do last week. It's the tactic of one of the riders is going to push the pace while the sprinter can sit in and everybody else has to chase.
Tactics in a 2-kilometer race with like this is like herding cats, to tell you the truth, Nathan. It is a wild affair out there, as you never know what riders have got planned. That's going to be Lizzie Brooke moving back up to the front here for Wahoo Lacole. They're going to try to make a statement in this race, no doubt about it. I have a feeling Movistar as well. This is Harris, and Harris for the Cryo RDT team is making her mark at this point. That's going to be covered, as it looks like Morgan Yuseni is going to go up and over the top. So Saris No Pins making their move. That rock arch comes up very, very quickly. Back to you, Nathan. This is the finale of event 2.
300 meters to go to the line. Yuseni leading it out, but she's going to be overtaken very quickly. Verhaeren coming fast. Walkenhorst is there. Embring from the middle of the pack. Will it be a middle of the pack surge? But Soderstrom starting to distance herself. Her teammate Embring coming through. No, it's going to be Soderstrom holding to the line. Movistar E-Team followed up by Swedish Visitors, Emding, and then Verhaeren, I believe, for third from what I saw on the camera there. But let's go back to the API to figure that out, as it does not lie. Here we go. And as we get results, this is race number 2, Dave. It looks like Movistar E-Team, I think, took that one down handily. And the timing, Dave, it's all about timing on Tempest Fusion if nobody gets away.
Yeah, you could see the Swedes were all over that, representing a couple of different teams there. It's there you have it now. Movistar taking the top points. There's 12 on offer, and they swept them up with Soderstrom. Embring for 11, Verhaeren for 10. Fourth place going to London. Ehrlich 5th, Lawson 6th. Lizzie Brooke picking up 6 points there. Morgan Yuseni will get 5 points in 8th. Ursulia Badovskaya having a strong effort out there in the closing. She just got swarmed. She'll end up in 9th. Angela Fleece. Then it will be Julia Valkenhorst and Zoe Langham. That's a bit of a surprise, actually, that Langham ends up not on top of the table. But Nathan, I'll throw it back to you for the team points here.
Not surprised the team's Swedish Zwifters is at the top. When it comes to tactics and really playing the strategy of the Zwift game, a lot of times in these team situations, they really know how to stack the right races at the right times. They're at the top with 20 points. Now, Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024, a good jump for them. So far, we've really seen their star, Kristen Kolchinski, pull a ton of points for them. But look at this early on, able to grab 15 points in this Tempest Fusion. Great to see from them in that second place right now. Movistar E-Team, they're with 12 points. That's a big jump for them. Only one rider actually, but taking the win. So that's a big jump with only one rider having to be there for that 12 points in third. That's massive, actually, Dave. Aoni in there coming in for 4th now with 10 points. Wahoo Lacole 7. It's going to be Saris, No Pins from Yuseni grabbing that 5 and 6. And I think we're moving on to the next race here, Dave. Dave, I can't. Oh, now we're going to jump right into the round points for the totals so far to see where things stand.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. This is at right now round 3 points, 20 for Team Swedish Swifters, Aeonian with 15, Virginia Blue Ridge. You make a great point about Kolchinski. Really has to be loving the reinforcements there, as they are tied on points with Aeonian now. Wahoo with 12, tied with Movistar here in fourth and fifth. Sixth place right now being held on to, well, by two teams as well. You can see how close this is. The parity that we've got in the ZRL Grand Prix has been awesome. And Toyota and Sox for Watts there are deadlocked sixth and seventh. And same thing here for Saris and Beast Mode. Eighth and ninth place are tied. 3 points for Coalition Alpha and 10th. And Roca Corbo looking to get on the board here. And they'll get a chance in just a couple moments. But yeah, Nathan, you make a great point there, as you really feel like Virginia Blue Ridge has redoubled their efforts out here. And that's nice to see. Kristen has to be really stoked to have some strong teammates with her now.
I want to talk a little bit to the format, 100%. And this speaks to the format a little bit there, as each one of the teams has to put their chips on the table. They have to bet a lot on certain races with the right riders. And as you just saw, we saw Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 able to grab some points there and really put themselves on the board and be able to say, look, now we're going to see Kristen maybe pull something off on the Queen of the Mountain. What I like to see also, Movistar E team there in the first race, 0 points, 0 points. They made a big bet. They didn't get a whole lot there, but then they bet a lot on one rider, and they only had to sacrifice one rider to Tempest Fugit, but grabbed 12 points for it. That's massive for them. And now maybe they stack the Queen of the Mountain coming up here with a couple extra riders. So it really is interesting how you see these teams put players in the right place to grab the right amount of points and how much they can earn from that. Because just because they got 12 Movistar there doesn't mean they didn't get a lot for what they paid for it.
And it's important to remember now, with 5 teams that will advance into our finals, they reset the points when we move. So you don't need to do too much here. You just need to do enough to be in the top 5, although that can be a dangerous game to play as well. This is what makes Zwift Grand Prix so much fun. We've really moved into a whole new era of esports racing. The riders have a lot more jeopardy. The risk-reward formula is tremendous. The team's input, Nathan, has been so valuable here. And we're doing things that I never really imagined we'd be able to do. This is no longer really bicycle racing. The gamification comes into play, and we will see power-ups a little bit later today. But right now, we get to go into what's going to be a very unique event. I always like to say, Nathan, only the strong survive. Well, even though it's not even 2 kilometers of racing, this one has to hurt the most than what we've got coming up here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Last week we saw 2 different tactics actually on this race that was raced twice by the men. First up, it looked like they all kind of watched each other and waited until they actually hit that hilly King of the Mountain forward KOM. And then the second race, we saw Jem Rosic, we nicknamed Jammers, jammed it right from the front, right from the get-go, and got away and had a rider on his wheel that then ended up drafting and then getting away all the way to the top. So that was really, really interesting to see 2 riders break away. Will we see something similar? Sitting in the pens here now, we're taking a look at Angela Roberts. Be on the watch out for her. That was as we see Sox for Watts, Roca Corba there with the jersey in front of us. Movistar E team, there they are, ready to take off, Dave. And right from the get-go, will we see another attack? Look at the jump immediately here now, Dave, as we're actually into full-on sprint mode. Excuse me, as we're not into the King of the Mountain, into Queen of the Mountain. Hia Kumar challenging here up against Loker. This is a totally different situation here, Dave. She does not break away immediately, but Loker now goes on the downhill, but it's going to be Kumar. Kumar over the top. Oh, not quite there. I think Loker just got it by a wheel length.
Much better ride from Pia Kumar there. So we do this 4 times. That was the second sprint that the ladies have. So Angela Roberts does get back up there. So we bounce around quite a bit here on Watopia. The ladies with the second sprint done. Loker, 2 for 2, Nathan. So she's in fuego right now. Hardly a surprise. But what was encouraging was that we see Pia back up on the top three here. That's where she was expected to be. Now, let's take a look here with Loker picking up the top spot in the 6 points. Pia Coomer ending up with 5 in second. Angela Roberts has a second and a third now, so she's doing a great job out here for Aeonian. This was much better for the Wahoo Lacole ladies, as this time Fuller and Arthur will score points. It's Fuller with 3 and fourth. Gilson for Cryo in fifth place there. She'll get the 2 points that correspond to that placing. And then Coralie Arthur out of Scotland getting that final point. So this time it's going to be Spardstrom, Mejias, Otto, and company ending up with that goose egg. Nathan, I'll throw it back to you as we look at the team points now.
Yeah, and here we go. Socks for Watts there. Beast Mode, Aeonian, Wahoo Lacole, and Toyota Coyote T. That's the team points from event 1 here. Excuse me, event 3 for the race number 1. So this is what they just accumulated across all of the riders that are in this race. As you can see, the tie there is the interesting part, right? Because we've got double riders there coming in that are able to grab a couple extra points there for Wahoo Lacole to keep them in that 4th spot, and then 5th for Cryo RDT. Not a 6th spot because of the double points across 4 riders there. Pretty cool to see how they stacked that front, and it ended up working out for them. Great point there with Coomer coming on through and grabbing some extra points. I think she performed this time around where we had expected her to. I think maybe a little bit of a change up about when she was throwing that power down. Here's round 3 points. Dave, go ahead and take that away.
Hey, thanks, Nathan. So 20 points right now is where Team Swedish Swifters are sitting on top of the table. Aeonian with 19 points here. Wahoo Lacole picking up 16 points. Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 with 15. In fifth place now is Movistar with 12. Socks for Watts on that same 12-point level there. And then you see Beast Mode presented by Rose. It's sitting in 7th now. Very consistent. We saw with the men and the women, Nathan, that the same 6 riders scoring again out there. So it proves that meet the new boss. It's the same as the old boss when it comes to sprinting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Katie fades it all as far as the power goes from the repeated efforts, and we start to see some of the other riders to start pulling through toward the end. I mean, they were a lot closer on her heels that time. She had to fight to the line. You know, it was only a wheel length between her and Kummer. She was, right on the wheel with the other riders behind her there. So I have a feeling these next 2 races might change things up a little bit. And I think there was a little bit more learned, and we saw that in this second sprint race. Really interesting to
That
see. Now, this next race is going to be, as you said, Dave, earlier, a little bit of mistake. Apologies on that, everybody, from me. But the Queen of the Mountain here coming up, Dave, this is the one where the real suffering comes in.
Yeah, well, I'll share that with you, Nathan. It's a complicated format here. In our qualifiers, I talked about 5 of the 11 teams will move into our finals. We're actually racing on 6 different courses out here. In our qualifiers, there's 8 total races. 4 times we'll be doing the sprint that you saw. 2 times we'll be at Tempest Fugit, and then now we'll move into that hill climb that we were talking about. So 2 of the courses are raced twice. 1 of the courses are raced 4 times to make up those 8 total events. Then we'll look at all of the points that the teams have earned and move the 5 top teams into our final events. And we'll move to 3 brand new venues. We'll add power-ups in. So there we have it. I think we're back up to speed. Nathan, time to strap on the climbing legs.
Yeah, we were talking about race picks for this one a little bit, Dave, earlier, and this one's tough because this is the stacked race. This is the one where you put the big hitters in and you try and figure out that 1 to 12 points, a ton of points on the line, and you kind of figure out who are your hill climbers and your peer punchers. And a lot of times you find the all-stars of the team all matching up in this final race. You've got current reigning world champion Lois Adegeest, you've got Liz Van Halen, you've got KK, Kristen Kolchinski. I mean, this is a who's who when it comes to Zwift racing showing up here. It's a very hard one to predict, actually.
I would say, Nathan, that if you look at the 3 races, race 2 that we saw in Tempest Fugit, that's the tactical race for sure. Race one is all about your strong woman, your fastest sprinter. This is about your best athlete that you've got on your team. Now, your watts per kilogram monster, and they are ready to take the countdown. There is your reigning world champion. It's beautiful to see that jersey with us here. Los Adigis, the Dutch superstar, here ready to take the start for Aeonian. She did not race with us 2 weeks ago when the women were into week 2. And Nathan, we are underway. Let's see how the ladies want to play their cards here. As you mentioned, the men were very conservative until they hit the climb. Will the ladies do the same thing? They very well could.
None of the avatars stood up out of the pens there. It's rare that you don't see an avatar stand up with a little bit of a kick, so out of the pens essentially. So they obviously trusted that this wasn't going much of anywhere right from the get-go. As you see, Van Eyck there only at 2.8, 2.5 watts. But Lindsay Cassie now 9.5 watts per kilogram on the downhill. We're seeing a jammers move, and this is going to be interesting. Lindsay Cassie is such a strong athlete. I am not surprised because she has done this round after round, just trusted her fitness to take her to the line.
I mean, she's throwing up massive numbers. This is a human wattage cottage that we're looking at right now. I have to think that Josh Lipka, the director of that Virginia Blue Ridge team, working with Kristen Kolchinski, had to do everything he could to rein her in early. And now I've imagined all hell's going to break loose out here. That's going to be Webb, Donnie starting to move up. The gap has gone to 3 seconds. So Cassie playing some cards early here for Wahoo Lacole. She's their only representative in this group. They were one of the teams decided to go heavy in the sprint because they really believed in Lindsay Cassie. Nathan, she's a superstar in esports. Can she hold on here? Gap goes up to 4. It's going to go up to 5, 6 seconds. Interesting play. Very interesting. To the brave go the victories most of the time as we look at Webb coming now. Back to you, Nathan.
Courtney Webb, she made an early move actually before they even hit the pass underneath the bridge and got a little bit of a gap. But now, as you see, they hit the climb here. This is the proof in the pudding. Whether or not Cassie can hold on to the gap that she has established. 6.7 watts per kilogram. Now Donnie makes her way to the front. Here comes Kolchinski. They're going to have to make the chase. It's 10 seconds. That is doable. When we saw last week, it was over 15 at the bottom of this climb that it was able to be held on to. This is going to come right to the line if Cassie's going to be able to hold on to this. She's starting to fade. 6.8 watts per kilogram. Paul now to the front. It looks like 8.5 overtaking Courtney Webb.
Well, if she can hold off this group of women, she has a chance to win the World Championships because there is not a higher level of racing on the planet than what we've got going on right now in the Zwift Grand Prix. I mean, look at this. The world champion is there. Liz Van Houweling, who's been the Zwift #1 ranked rider. Kristen Kolchinski is an absolute legend. Charlotte Kolklov. I mean, Anna Russell is there. This is a murderer's row chasing her down. And Lindsay Cassie still holding on to over 5 seconds. But that gap starts to come down right here, right now.
This is the moment right now, the moment of truth on this climb because the speed comes right on through that little bit of a leveling off. They get into 7.7% gradient here. Cassie still on the front, 5 seconds, able to hold on. Here comes Van Houweling. Van Houweling waiting for the punch. 9 watts per kilogram at 5 seconds. Isn't enough to bring it back. Here comes Lou Bates. The jump from Bates now, 11 watts per kilogram from her. She goes over the top. Kolchinski just trying to hold on, but still this may be a sprinter's game to the line as Bates. Oh my gosh, Britt makes it happen here. Soxer Watts is going to do it, maybe right to the line, but Cassie's going to hold on. No,
even the Bates
does it here, Dave.
Points. Yes, I mean, Cassie still, she might not win that race. She still gets 11 points. That was absolutely huge. But how about Lou Bates? The boss is back and in full effect. That's huge for Sox for Watts out here. Absolute Donnybrook out there today. That was unbelievably fun to watch, Nathan. So, okay, now we've looked at all 3 courses that we've got. Nathan, I'll throw it back to you as we can catch our breath a little bit. We'll be going back to the sprint for the 3rd time. But before we do that, we've got a lot to review here.
Yeah, what a move there by Lindsay Cassie, and it really almost held on to the line, but the patience there coming from Lou Bates, and we've seen her do that time and again on a punchier course like this where it's a sprint at the end. She's able to just reserve enough at a VO2 max effort to go over the top. maybe not have it all the way to the top of a longer climb, but what we just saw from her is her bread and butter. Great job from her. Van Halen unable to hang on when it came to the punch to the sprint there, but it was able to grab third from the pack. Kolchinski there in fourth for 9 points. It's going to be Marlene Jarhid in fifth for 8 for that Movistar E team. It's going to be Donnie there in sixth place for 7 points. Ridgway, seventh for 6 points. Our current reigning world champion, Louis Adegis there in eighth for 5 points. Troy Riccardi T with Kolkloff for 4 points. Van Eyck there coming in for Ionian, 10th place for 3 points. Paul for 2 points. And Norden grabbing 1 point in 12th. That's our first time up on the top of the Queen of the Mountain for the rider points scored.
Let's take a look at the team points now here, as Sox for Watts has got to be loving that. 14 points now as they're on top of the table here. Wahoo Lacole with 11, tied with Toyota Cryo RDT, having a great ride out here today. Sarah Snowpins in fourth with 10 points. VBR 2024 with 9 points in fifth. Movistar E-Team is sixth now. They're actually tied with 8 points with Aonian. Roca Corva Collective, 6 points, sitting in eighth. Swedish Swifters, they've got 1 point sitting in ninth. And then Beast Mode and Coalition Alpha are still looking to put some points up on the board there as far as team points go.
Interesting to see how this is going to play out now, because Sox for Watts have really changed up the story now with that effort. Wahoo Lacole as well. Toyota Cryo RDT there. Interesting to see, because those top teams that we see now, it's a little similar to what we saw from these past races, but it's going to shake things up across the board here, I think, Dave. And this is what's really cool about this, is that we really get to see each one of the riders and each one of the team's talents shine in each one of these races. And it's not just this one team dominate all the way through. So it makes these round points that we're going to see here really interesting in the shakeup. Look at that. As you talked about parity, Wahoo Lacole, Aonian, Sox for Watts, so close at the top, Dave.
Aonian and Wahoo Lacole have been so exceptional. What a battle this whole season has been. And you can see why, as they're tied right now, 27 points on top of the table. Sox for Watts is just 1 point back, sitting there in third. Bringing Lou Bates back into the fold is huge for that Sox for Watts team. Virginia Blue Ridge 2024, 24 points. They're in the thick of it. They got to feel really energized by that. Team Swedish Swifters, 21 points as they're in the top 5. But Movistar is knocking on the door, sitting in sixth, just 1 point back, and only 1 point behind them is Toyota Cryo RDT in seventh. Saris in eighth, Beast Mode ninth, Roca Corva 10th, Coalition Alpha rounding out our top 11 teams here in the Zwift Grand Prix. These are the round 3 points we just reviewed.
Well, now we are going to jump back down into I believe we're doing another sprint race here in just a moment.
We are.
Back to back. Every time we do one race, we jump back into a sprint, another race, then back into a sprint. 4 times, Dave. This time around, will Loker be able to do it? She's pulled it off twice, but can she fool him a third time, Dave? That's going to be the question.
So, all right. Well, we're about 8 minutes away from our next race start. So, Nathan, we have a chance to review what we've seen so far. First, let me ask you a question here. It looks like that method of putting 2 riders into the sprint round, that's only going to pay off for you if you have 2 of the best sprinters in the world, in my mind. That is not a mid-level play. You can't sneak a couple points off the table there, because, again, we've seen the dominant sprinters remain the dominant sprinters. They can recover quick enough. And also, you need to remember that everybody is going through the same thing. It's not like some riders are sitting out sprints and then contesting. Everybody's contesting each sprint, and they recover so quickly out here. So you got to be really confident that your second sprinter is one of the 4 best in the race to make that play. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that, and I'm not necessarily seeing that so far. The only one who's really getting any benefit out of that is Wahoo Lacole. Now, interesting enough, though, Wahoo Lacole and Aonian, they're currently sitting at the top of the leaderboard in the standings across the Zwift Grand Prix right now, and they're currently at the top. So they're playing their cards right, it seems like, also in this round 3 of the Zwift Grand Prix in the squad skirmish. Really interesting to see there. Now, where things are changing up a little bit, though, maybe is we are seeing Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 along with Sox for Watts starting to make a move a little bit over the top of Movistar E-Team. Movistar E-Team are currently sitting in 4th place overall, while Virginia's Blue Ridge and Sox for Watts are in 5th and 6th. Just underneath them and they might start being able to make a move to get on that podium spot and overtake Star Snowpins, because I'm not seeing Star Snowpins very high on the leaderboard right now comparatively. Sox Watts, Virginia's Blue Ridge, I think they've done their homework and they're trying to make a move in this round number 3 with Squad Skirmish, and it's playing to their strengths, because I have a feeling the reality of from those teams is that they haven't been able to spread out their talent quite as well within the specific races that we're doing. And now they're able to say, look, we've got these specific talents that can do these things in these specific courses for these short period of times. And that's starting to shine where they can overtake some of these other teams that are ahead of them in the series overall.
Yeah, squad skirmish is the format that we're racing, and we started things out with parkour picker, which in some ways, Nathan, is similar to squad skirmish in that you have to, when you talk about the Machiavellian chess match that is esports racing, the directors have to be putting a lot of thought into where they put their riders. Now, what I've learned here, especially in squad skirmish, is without a dominant sprinter on your team, it's very hard to move into the top 5 on the table here. That sprinter is the cornerstone of your squad, Nathan. I would say even more so than your watts per kilogram rider that you're putting into the third of these races. Again, to review for everybody joining us for the Zwift Grand Prix, it's a brand new format. We're having a lot of fun right now. The teams have helped us get here. So today we're racing our 8-race qualifier on 3 different courses. Some riders will race 4 times. The other riders will race 2 times. A couple of the races there's some hill climbing, but mostly, Nathan, the sprinters are got to be loving a day like today, or at least let's say the format of squad skirmish.
Yeah, they really get to shine. That's for sure.
They do.
The sprinters
Seems like
definitely,
it favors the sprinter.
compared to what we've seen the last couple of weeks, you had to really qualify to show off your sprint, right? You had to race a different kind of a race than just a setup for a sprinter day. And so because of that, they get to they don't even have to sit in for the entirety of a race and try and make sure they make it to the end. It's just like, let's show it off,
Right.
which is pretty cool to see. If you're just tuning in, race number 1, again, is a sprint for just 300 meters from the Watopia Pens to the lap arch. Then we are into Fuego Flats is what? So there it is. There it is on the screen. 0.3 kilometers. It's races 1, 3, 5, and 7. We're about to watch event 5 in just a moment. Then we also have in race number 2, it's over on Tempest Fugit. It's going to be 2.2 kilometers for that. There it is. And they are doing that for event 2 and 6. We're going to see that one after our next sprint. And that's got 12 to 24 riders and scores 12 to 1 points. And then what we just watched was the Queen of the Mountain forward hilly climb. That is race number 3. Now they do these 3 events, everybody, in order, and they do them 4 times for the first sprint and 2 times for those other 2 events. So those are all there in order to get into the finals, and only 5 teams make the finals, and we have 3 more races for that, Dave. And then at that point, those final 5 teams are going to split up the points that are up for grabs for this round number 3 of the Zwift Grand Prix.
And just like going into overtime in major American sports, we reset everything for the 5 teams that will qualify to go into our finals. We'll have 3 brand new courses for them to race on. So, yeah, it's a really unique format, and it's also important to remember, Nathan, that for our sprinters here, I mean, they're only doing 1.2 kilometers of racing over the course of about an hour and 15 minutes, but it's really about being ready when you're called to duty out here. So I got to imagine right now they're keeping the legs loose. You know, you've got to just sort of keep yourself engaged, but not too engaged. You can't burn out your central nervous system as well. So it's a fine line there, and I think that's where all of these teams with their directors, they're on Discord. They'll be communicating quite a bit. I would imagine, Nathan, during these gaps between races, that there's a lot of communication amongst the riders and directors. Would you expect that too?
Oh yeah, tons of planning. I've had communication coming at me for days now, actually, about what do you think about this, Nate? What do you think about this? I know that there's tons of planning going on. How did this go? They're going to reset. They're going to figure out what did they do right, what did they do wrong, go back to the drawing board and change up the tactics a little bit where they need to play to the strengths as best they possibly can. Speaking about tactics, talents, and strengths, Dave, the reality of this genre that we're seeing here of cycling, if you think about it, when it comes to these sprints, now we are looking here. We're about to go into this sprints right in just a moment here. Katie Loker taking 12 points. Angela Roberts currently there with 9. Catherine Furr, they're scoring 7 so far. Thea Kumrick scoring 8. Harry Gilson, Corley Arthur. That's the only one so far they've been able to grab anything in this pure sprint for 300 meters, Dave.
Well, let's see if Katie Loker can do it. We're just about 30 seconds from start, it sounds like now. We mentioned in the men who raced this exact format last week, we had our sprint champion, Simon Nordhall, won all 4 races. I'm wondering, can Katie Loker pull that off? Because it certainly looks like Pia Kummer has cracked the code. The German rider finishing second in the last one. And I'm still waiting for Marlies Mejias to have her moment. All right, back to you, Nathan.
All right, look at that. 1 second to go. Here we go. Right from the pens in the lower left-hand corner, you can see the riders taking off now, and it's going to be a lead out there. Aeonian, they're making it happen. Are they going to be the upset? Loker trying to come through. Here's the downhill section where she's been able to take over. Roberts trying to hold on to it there. Will Roberts be able to do it? But Loker starts to come through with the speed. Roberts hanging on. Angela Roberts makes it happen, takes it down, and Loker, Kummer might have done a wheel throw virtually at the line there. It's so close, Dave.
Yeah, I'm going to say one, Angela doing a tremendous job there. Angela Roberts for her Aeonian team. They are the top team coming into this Grand Prix third event. So that was huge for Aeonian. I have to say that it looked to me like Loker does get second there as she'll take the 5 points that go along with that. So Angela Roberts upsets the apple cart. She'll take the win and 6 points. Loker for 5 points. Coomer 4. Furr 3. Gilson 2. Mejias gets on the board. That's a nice one for the Cuban. She'll pick up 1 point and a little more confidence. Corley Arthur, Svardstrom, Edqvist, Hermanson, Otto, Miller will be back one more time to contest this format, the 300-meter sprint. Absolutely brutal. Nathan, back to you for the team points as they stand.
That's going to be a big boost for Aeonian there to take down Loker. We saw in the men's racing last week that it was just repeat after repeat, but now Aeonian with Angela Roberts making it happen. Katie Loker taking second. She's going to have to go back a little bit to the drawing board and figure out if she can take down Roberts in that 4th round. Pia Kummer very consistent there. 4 points there. Wahoo Loko with 3. Toyota Crowder T2. And then Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 getting on the board with that 1 point there. Great to see that for Mejias making that happen. Very awesome for them because they have been stacking each one of these with some consistency across the races. So that'll be a big boost for their confidence here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay, Dave, how this played out in front of our eyes.
Again, no drafting at play, so this is a pure TT effort. Angela Roberts gets her timing perfectly there. So it looked like Loker might have enough momentum to come through, but with no draft, you can see how there was just nothing to pull her through. But she then has to really fight because Pia Kummer, these two have been on the podium all day long. And that was very, very close, Nathan. So they do get one more crack at it here. But that question was answered. Loker unable to go 4 for 4 out here, but she's 2 wins and a second. Not bad at all.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the round points as they're going to be just as close, I think, at this point as we saw with the wheel throw there from Kummer. There it is. Aeonian only 2 points ahead of Sox for Watts there. It's going to be 1 point separating Sox for Watts and Wahoo Loko. Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 sneaking their way up into 4th place. It's going to be Team Swedish Zwift. There's some consistency, but they're going to be wanting some points here because they're tied with Clarity T. It's neck and neck for 5th and 6th. Movistar E team, they get it up here on the board a little bit. They haven't been scoring anything in this sprint. Look at what they're able to do still, though, with 20 points and still in the running, even after a couple of hitouts there in the sprint. Star Snowpins not performing to the level that they're currently at as 3rd place in the current standings overall in the series of the Grand Prix. So they really got to make something up in these last couple of races here in order to make it in the finals. Again, it's a cutoff at 5. So the edge there really is Toyota, Movistar, Saris, they've got to make a big jump. Beast Mode as well have to really do something to get into the final. Because at 14 points, Roca Cobra Collective and Coalition Alpha, not sure anything's happening. It's going to be for pride at this point for them.
We're going to be going back to Tempest Fugit next for a 2.2-kilometer race. We've talked about this being the most tactical of all of the events that make up Squad Skirmish. There is still points on the table to make up that ground if you want to look at it, Nathan, from the Saris No Pins perspective. You know, I mean, Liz Van Houweling could pick up 12 in the not this next race, but she gets one more crack at it on the hill climb. And so there's a path to the top 5 for them. What's going to be really interesting is who will be the 3rd, 4th, and 5th teams to advance into our final events here today. That's so when we look at the points that Nathan just reviewed, that's every point that your team has earned so far today. This is round 3 of 6 total, but we will then fold those points into the points from our final. So obviously, teams 6 through 11, that those spots will be decided. Still in play will be spots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and this is where we will definitely have an interesting leaderboard to look at after the mid-season break that we've got coming up. After 3 races here, will Aeonians still be on top of the table? No reason to think they won't at this point, Nathan. They've done a great job today of keeping themselves where they need to be, but a lot of things can change. So I hear from race control, Nathan, that we're just about to hit 30 seconds to start for our next event, another Donnybrook here in the Squad Skirmish. What a blast racing has been here today. Let's get it on one more time here.
Things going to really have to change up as far as the tactics go if these teams are going to make a difference here in these final couple races. Yuseni went very early, we saw, in this race. There are 2 Saris No Pins riders here in this race that we're about to watch. So they need to change things up a little bit here to make a big difference, I think. As we're looking at the points here, it's Beast Mode presented by Rose, Movistar E-Team, Saris No Pins, and Toyota Coyote T that are on that bubble. They can go a little bit more protection there from Ionia and the rest of these teams there, but I think we're going to see some moves that need to be made. There it is off the front immediately to get go. Lizzie Brooke trying to make it happen again. Are they going to make the chase?
Yeah, this has been the tactic that we've seen, this technique of going out very, very hard. Last time this fizzled out, there's some fire socks at play, so these ladies are going out very, very hard. They're not going to mess around at all. Very different than the next race that will, well, actually after our next sprint, the final hill climb, where it's much more tactical. Here the ladies just throw down the gauntlet, and this is going to be one of the top triathletes that we've got in esports racing, Lizzie Brooke out of England here, and it looks like that's going to be Harris now taking up the chase.
Harris there goes across. There is no draft on Harris at this point. She immediately got 2 seconds to get on Brooks' wheel, so they can work together at this point. Weissman says enough is enough and goes right to the front there. With you see the orange numbers with the number 3 there right next on the right-hand side. 8 watts per kilogram. The pack does not have any kind of draft on her as well, and that's a little bit of a downhill actually that we're seeing there. 1 to 2% negative gradient. So Weissman's going to speed right on up and get right on the wheels of these 3. It is 2 seconds now at this point. Nobody's on the front pulling. These 3 might start to work together and be able to stay away. Machner now to the front for Coalition Alpha at 5 watts per kilogram to try and keep it steady. It looks like that might bring some motivation into the pack to actually do something if somebody wants to work. But is Coalition Alpha actually going to do all the work? This looks like it might stick, Dave.
Well, it's really going to come down to if these women are willing to work together. They could take first, second, and third, no doubt about it, but they've got to cooperate. And, yeah, it's starting looking good for them now as this is down to just a little over 1K. I would anticipate it's worth it for, a third out of this group is much better than collectively being caught. So these women should go all in on this. No doubt about it. This is a sweet place to be.
Yeah, it is a really good place to be. The only question is, they're going to start looking at each other and playing too many games. It looks like a 5.6 watts per kilogram. Not too much happening there. They really do. They have to continue to drive through. But here comes Barry, 8.6 watts per kilogram. The risk is being made here by Roca Corba in order to bring this back as Denton sits on her wheel. That's a perfect drafting situation. Now Simmons comes on through 7.5. They're going to make the chase. This is getting shut down real quickly. At only 3 seconds, Dave, this is said and done.
Well, you watch, it's down to 700 meters to go. The gap is coming down quickly. As Nathan said, it's like watching a puddle evaporating on a hot summer day in a parking lot, as that gap will be down. If they make the catch, though, it's going to be on the line. These ladies have got to completely commit, go all in now. So here we go. They're down to 500 meters to go. The gap at 2 seconds, Nathan. It's touch and go here. Their catch is being made.
Bruce Shire now over the top. Shire with an early jump. Is it going to be a lead out like we saw from Usendi last time? Ulrich now coming on through. Here comes 2024. Are they going to make it happen? This is going to be a huge upset if Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 is going to make it happen. But I think there's going to be a surge from the back. Soderstrom. Here comes Soderstrom there. Again, the Movistar E-team coming over the top. And it's going to be the Swedish rider. Is it going to be a repeat situation? Right to the line. Soderstrom makes it happen. London, Itkin, it looks like. It's all about timing on Tempest Fugit. Mika, every time she's in camera, Dave, it's an all-in effort. We saw it in Yorkshire. We saw it here again. Amazing move by Movistar. What a pickup for them in that rider.
Boy, a lot happened in that 2.2 kilometers out there. What a wild affair. But Mika Soderstrom has definitely cracked the code. Timing and patience. Hard to believe that that was the key, but absolutely with a little kicker of power at the end. Morgan Usendi ends up with 11 points in second. Ariel Verhaeren ends up in third, and the 10 points that go with it. Anna Embring for ninth, and then Polona Itkin rounds out our top five there, getting Aeonian some more valuable points. It's going to be Swedish Swifters and Sarah London in sixth. Zoe Langham getting stronger out there. She'll end up in seventh place with 6 points. You can see everybody takes home something from this one, with Lawson in eighth, Lethbridge ninth, Ehrlich, who looked good there at about 200 meters to go. And it shows you how ferocious this group is. Emily Ehrlich in 10th, Usulia Baradovskaya in 11th, and Angela Fliss rounds out our top 12. Nathan, I'll throw it back to you so we can look at the team points so far.
That's a big jump there for both Movistar and Cyrus No Pins. They needed to show up here. They needed to perform to get into the top five. That might have done it. Now it's going to be the question of the final races here, then whether or not these last two races are going to make any difference for them. That hill climb that we saw last time, it's going to really need to play out for Movistar as well as Cyrus No Pins. But Aeonian, doing Aeonian dude. They're the top they're the top women here, and they're showing exactly why they are. Team Swedish Swifters there currently for a second. That's a jump for them as well. So they're showing up. Movistar, no pins, as we said. Now, Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024, they are being consistent. Is it consistent enough with that fifth? Wahoo Lako with 6 points, Sox Watts 4. It's going to be Tori Cardi T with 2, and then Coalition Alpha. Beast Mode presented by Rose and Roca Corba, no points. Beast Mode really needed a lot here in this race. So what are they going to do in the final? We'll have to wait and see. Let's take a look at the round points. Is going to say it all right now, Dave.
Yeah, so that last screen was taking a look at the points that your riders had earned you in the most recent event. This now will look at all 6 races of the 8 that we've had so far in our qualifier. Remembering the top 5 teams are going to advance, and you can see how close it is there on the bubble. Aeonian with 51. They should be good to punch their ticket through to the next round. Now you look at this grouping here. Swedish Swifters, Wahoo Lacole, and Sox for Watts are very, very close here. 37, 36, and 35 points. It starts to look like they should be. I wouldn't get comfortable, because with Virginia Blue Ridge only 1 point behind, Movistar 1 point behind them, it's literally going to come down to what your rider does in that final 2 races. It's 2 different riders, obviously, your sprinter and your climber. All right, Nathan, this is going to be dramatic. Wow. Very, very exciting now. So this is where it had been a while. The first 2 races, the same 6 women were on our top 6. The order changed a little bit, but then the third race that our sprinters had, we saw some new names like Marlies Mejias making their way up into that top 6. So things are changing a little bit, but in general, what we've seen before, we can expect to see more of, and that's Katie Loker, Pia Kummer, and Angela Roberts. They've been dominating in these sprints so far. They've got one more crack at it, and then we'll go over to our final race of our qualifiers. But Nathan, what do you think? Can anyone come out of the woodwork here?
I really think when it comes to the Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024, Marlies Mejias is really going to have to make something happen here for them to solidify their spot, to give them a comfortable placing with that 5th place right now with only 33 points. So, I mean, obviously also Sock for Watts with Katie Loker. They have a lot to gain here right now in that 4th place with 30. They're sitting at 35 points in this current round right now. So Loker, it does give them a little bit of a bump. Angela Roberts there for Aeonian. They're really comfortable. This is for pride a little bit for them at this point because they're way up there at that 51. Pia Coomer's been so consistent. If she can win right here, it's going to give a lot of confidence for that Queen of the Mountain situation for one of their star riders, Gabriella Schumann, later. Hopefully, Kimberly Miller can also get involved there and grab them a couple points because they're way down at 14 points. Unless they have like a standout situation right here, it really is that's the only wind in their sails, I think, at this point. So Coomer, we'll see what she can show up with. Catherine Furr has been looking for it. She's been just off by about 10 meters each and every time. She may be in it for a win here if she comes off that line really, really strong. Harriet Gilson and Coralie Arthur just looking to scrape up some points, or perhaps Coralie going to show up with a little something extra that we haven't seen so far from her with some consistency toward the end.
Katie Locher, 17 points there. 18 is a perfect score. So she has 2 wins and a second. So if she can go 3 wins and a second, that will be just phenomenally helpful for her team. So some good assessment there, Nathan. I would say Coralie Arthur would be my rider that I would say has the biggest possibility to make some gains out here. She's got a potential top 3 in her as the countdown is just about to begin for the women here, as they will be ready to explode one more time. That's Angela Roberts right in the middle. You've got Katie Locher there in the blue on blue. Let's get it on, ladies.
Full gas, and there's Locher's avatar here. We'll see what it pulls off, and look at the move right from the get-go. But again, it's going to be Onion Roberts here taking the lead. Locher, Coomer, neck and neck. It is the corner here. Coomer now gets a little bit of a disadvantage behind Locher. Now Locher coming over the top. There she got the continuance. It's Locher, 11 watts per kilogram, right versus Roberts. Neck and neck, right to the line. I think Locher maybe. Oh my gosh, Dave, that wasn't a wheel. That wasn't even half a wheel. That was a tire difference, Dave. I think that was less than 1/100 of a second difference there between the two riders. We'll have to wait, but man, so great to see Locher versus Roberts over and over again. Some of the best sprinters in the world on Zwift.
The teams have submitted their rosters for the finals. So some of these ladies are not done racing here today. You have to look at it now. Some of the teams have been putting 2 into that event 1. That's the 4th time that they've raced. I believe Locher will take 3 of 4 with the silver to go along with those 3 gold medals. So a phenomenal performance by Katie Locher out here today, living up to her nickname, Ms. 14 Watts. It's going to be Angela Roberts who definitely exceeded expectations. Phenomenal effort out here as we take a look at Roberts with
so was it so
close,
well. Dave? I'm wondering if it was so close that it's being
are they scoring that as a tie?
As 6 points across. Like
I've never seen
that in Zwift racing before, but like, is it so close that the back end API is judging down to the hundredths and saying that it's 6 points? I mean, how deep?
That's what they're doing.
I'll wait for production to let us know. Yeah, it's interesting.
There is no 5, if you notice. It goes 6-6. So I'm going to guess that they can't give out 5.5 points. So that's my guess, is we're calling that a tie. That's the first time I've seen that in my 3 years of esports commentary. A historic moment, no doubt about it. But they've gone to the back end API. We'll get that confirmed for you. But Nathan, good catch. I believe that's what we saw. We'll let you know if that's different. But it's going to be Coomer there in 3rd, but a tie for the win. Holy cow. And then, so Coomer, then Furr in 4th, Gilson for 5th, and then the final point going to Coralie Arthur this time with, that's your top 6 with a very unique esports moment. Historic.
That's insane. I've never seen
that before. I assume
that's
literally
correct. Never, ever seen that before. Yeah, I am as well. So Sox Watts there, grab 6. Aeonian, grab 6. Beast Mode presented by Road with Coomer there, grab 3. It's going to be Wahoo Lacole up with 4 points there. And then Toyota Cryo DT grabbing 2. No 1 on the board here. So Virginia's Blue Ridge, Roca Corba, Team Swedish Ritters, Movistar, and SARS, no pins. They miss out on any points for this event number 7 for race 1 team points. We're heading on over to the final Queen of the Mountain in just a moment. Let's take a look at how things are standing for the round points, though, Dave.
All right. So this is all of the points that your team has earned so far today after 7 of 8 races. So, Nathan, just for some math for you here, I thought they said there would be no math, but there always is math. It's 12 points is the maximum your team can to can win in the next race. But you have to remember that every team is going to be scoring as well. So the delta is going to be 11 points on any, or actually make it 10 points with only 11 teams competing here. So it's going to run out of real estate very quickly. There's no way that Aeonian doesn't advance into our final with the points that they have right now. But Socks for Watts, Wahoo LaCole, Team Swedish Swifters, it's all in play here. Only 1 point, Nathan, separating Virginia Blue Ridge and Movistar. This will be a battle royale as we're going to be sending our final race out on the course here. It's 1.8 kilometer, but a significant climb. The sting is in the tail here of our 8 qualifiers. This is the second time that the women have raced on this course. This one, they're going to go even deeper. We saw an early attack last time that they were racing on this course that ended up holding on for 11 points. And I'm going to expect, Nathan, the way that last race was raced will change the dynamic of our final event here in our qualifiers.
There's a lot on the shoulders of Marlene Jarhid right now. She's the only racer from Movistar E Team in race number 3. They're right on the cusp right now, Dave. Currently sitting at 32 points in 6th place. Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 with 33 points right now, right on the cusp as well. We also have Sars No Pins, Liz Van Houweling, and Anna Russell in here. Anna Russell off the back in that climb. We need to see a jammers move, and a move here, Dave. We need to see what we saw last week, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see. It's all in at this point. Sitting on the back of this pack, if you don't believe that you can be in that front runners for those big points with where a team stands, that might be in that, I would say around that 8th, 6th, 7th, 8th place right now, you kind of have to risk a lot because the reality is last time you were off the back. You're not going to be at the front this time around, most likely. I have a feeling we're going to see some big risk reward at this point because you got nothing to lose.
I'll tell you what, Nathan, if I was directing the Virginia Blue Ridge team, I would honestly tell Kristen Kolchinski, you do you. You know, this is what she's so tremendous at, a race like this. Now, I wouldn't put any extra pressure on her. I would just let her race her race. If you let this play out naturally, Kolchinski's going to get your team into the finals. There's no doubt about that. In my mind, that's for sure. Nathan, they are out on course, and it looks like, is that going to be Kolchinski attacking off of the gun? It wouldn't surprise me. Or is it teammate here?
I have a feeling it's a teammate. I'm not sure yet. We don't have info on it just as of yet.
Attacking.
I don't know. It's Wu Yan. It's Wu Yan. And that's exactly what they need to do here, Dave. It's perfect move because Kolchinski can sit in, force everybody else to go. And it's a Zwift Academy finalist off the front right now, Dave.
We actually have 2 of them in this race. Liz Van Houweling, also a Zwift Academy finalist in this field here. So this is a little mini test for those ladies out here. This is going to be an absolute Donnybrook. Wu Yan, a tremendous talent here. Elena has really come on strong here. Let's see what she can do out here, trying to set the table for her teammate, Kristen Kolchinski. It looks like this is a team move, if you ask me, Nathan.
Yeah, is she going to continue on with this? It's only 1 second at this point. They have caught her, but will she just say, forget it? I have a feeling because of what happened last round here, she is going to make her way as much as she possibly can through here, but now they're just sitting on her wheel. 6.4 watts per kilogram. Donnie, though, having to pull a solid 4.4, but Wuhan now going to back off, recover a little bit, and see what can happen. Will there be a counterattack is going to be the question.
Well, Alicia Haag is moving up to the front right now. You can see the German flag there as we're just kind of in that the grind on the front right now. Lindsay Cassie, one of the most dangerous riders in esports today, moving up to the front for Wahoo LaCole. There's some huge names sitting comfortably back in this field that will be ready to absolutely drop the hammer. Giardoni now going. The Italian here on Cryo RDT, a very interesting rider. Fun to watch. A lot of spirit in the Italian here as she now sees the world champion, Los Adagist. Boy, Nathan, so many huge talents in this field.
A lot of movement toward the front, but none of it is an all-in moment just as of yet.
Position.
I have not seen a move that's saying I'm going to go bottom. Yeah, it's all about positioning. Exactly, Dave. None of these moves have been about getting to the line first as of yet. It's all about where am I going to be in this pack when the actual move is really made.
Yeah, exactly. Because what happens is if you're sitting at the back of this group, when that explosion goes up the road, you've got too much gap between you to cover before you can get up into the draft. And so these riders are well aware of that. Charlotte Kolkloff is on the front. This is in cam now with the world championships coming up in March. Everyone's so pumped for that. A lot of the names that you see on your screen right now will be part of that conversation. There's the American Liz Van Houweling, who's going to really look to try to move her Sarah Snowpins team up the table here. Charlotte Kolkloff, like a human motorcycle, up on the front right now. But this is Kolchinski. Kristen Kolchinski has lit her rocket, and she is the bomb. Let's see if she can pull it off now.
All about the movement at that point, the speed coming on through from the flat section, but now Schumann now makes it over to the front. She did not have the best race in the last one. Right, here we go. 8 watts per kilogram. Schumann now sticking it to everybody at 7 watts per kilogram off the front. Bates, though, we're waiting for that kick from Lou Bates. Lou Bates kicked 11 watts per kilogram. There it is again. 11 from Bates. Now she goes. Here comes Van Houweling. Is it going to hold with the pack now? Van Houweling versus Bates is what we saw last time with Lindsay Cassidy off the front. But Cassidy's not off the front this time. They didn't let anything go. And Lou Bates makes it happen for Socks for Watts once again. Nobody can follow her kick. It's right to the line between Kolchinski and Van Houweling, though, for second and third. What happened there is going to be the question when it comes to getting through the next round, but Bates grabs big points on this Queen of the Mountain.
One thing's for sure, that Kolchinski will make sure her team advances there with that ride. I have to say, Lou Bates is en fuego right now. I have to wonder what she was doing all summer, as she's bringing some incredible form into really the beginning of the esports season out here. Lou Bates could be world champion by the time this season is over. She is killing it. So Van Houweling ends up getting 11 points there for Sarah Snowpins. Kristen Kolchinski ends up third with 10 for VVR 2024. It's going to be Bjadhead. Interesting there. The Movistar rider ends up in fourth. I can't wait to see a lot of anticipation for that final table to see the 5 teams that will advance, as Lindsay Cassie's going to end up in fifth. Gabby Schumann, what a fighter the Brazilian is, as Schumann ends up in sixth. Charlotte Kolkloff seventh. Anna Russell eighth. Giardoni in ninth. It's going to be Van Acht, Haag, and how about that, Los Adigist in 12th today. So that wraps up our 8 events that make up the qualifiers. Now we'll start crunching the numbers, Nathan. I'll throw it to you for the points here after this final 8th race in, 8th event of race 3 of the season. Back to you, Nathan.
This is going to be really close, Dave. That is huge for Sarah Snowpins. Anna Russell grabbed an awesome 8th place. Liz Van Houweling grabbed the 2nd place to grab those 16 points. They were in 7th at 26. Movistar E-Team with only 9 points. If you do some math, Sarah Snowpins and then Virginia's Blue Ridge were there. Oh, but I think those big points there for Krista Kolchinski, they pull them out perhaps from the final. We'll have to wait and see what it looks like here, but that's what it looks like across that event number 8 for race 3. It's going to be Toyota PRT with 10 points. And here we go, Dave. We're going to find out in just a moment how this plays out for who goes to the finals. It's still so close.
I'd like to make a point here that Aeonian might have done something that was very smart. Los Adigist didn't need to get any points, Nathan. There was no reason for her to make any kind of effort in that race to save it for the final. That might have been a tactical masterpiece. So many riders at this level have a hard time shutting it down for an event like this. But if you really look at the big picture, the best thing she could have done for the team is not wear her battery down by making an unneeded point gain. She saved it. I don't think that was Los Adigist having any kind of problem. I think that was them being a little bit smarter than your average cat.
That's a really good point. That's exactly probably. I mean, there's no other reason I could think of.
It makes all the sense in the world, doesn't it?
Where she ended up there. It does. Why use your star rider right now when you're at 53 points? You need nothing. You don't need any points whatsoever to get to the final round. Great call there, Dave. And really interesting to see now what's going to happen with that bubble, though. Where is it going to end up for these riders? I have a feeling that Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 were able to hold on
Agreed.
to that fifth spot.
They do.
Let's go ahead and take a look. Here we go. We're going to take a look right now.
This is so exciting. I love the Grand Prix. This new format has just been tremendous. And there is The proof in the pudding. Wow. So Sarah's did it, Nathan. Unbelievable. So the 61 for Aeonian, as we said, they were in the clear. They knew they were going to make the top five. Sox for Watts, they will advance. Wahoo Cole punch their ticket into the final. Virginia Blue Ridge 2024. It's not just Kristen Kolchinski today. That team is really finding their rhythm. And then there it is. You made the call, Nathan. Great catch. Sarah Snowpins will by 1 point go up and over the top of Movistar. That's a bit of a heartbreaker there because Movistar really fought today. They're going to end up then in sixth place on the day because they won't be in our, so the top five spots are all going to zero back out and they'll be competing again for the top five spots. Now sixth place though has been decided for the day. That goes to Movistar. Swedish Swifters in seventh. Toyota Cryo RDT will be in eighth. Beast Mode ninth. Roca Corva Collective 10th. Coalition Alpha 11th. Remembering that they started with only 3 today. But top 5 spots now, Nathan, are all back in play. Everybody starting from scratch.
Interesting to see here how that ended up playing out. Movistar E team so close there to make it. Anna Russell and Liz Van Houweling, they pull out the tactics, they make it happen. What an effort there by Anna because Dave, that's a big jump. They were 6 points behind Movistar E team. Marlene Jarheed literally one place made the difference there, Dave, between
Good.
being able to take this down, maybe 2 places or so. But the
Well,
reality is there, Dave, Sarah Snowpins, they
Sarah,
gambled well. They put the chips in the
they
right
had 2
place.
riders in the race. That was the gamble was made days ago by their director sportif, who put 2 riders into that final race. Anna Russell there. Those points that Anna gets are why they advance, but you have to look at the 11 that Liz Van Houweling picked up in second place there, put them in position for Anna as the second rider on the team to put them over the top. That was brilliant from Sarah Snowpins there, having the right riders in the right places, because if Anna Russell had been used in the sprint races earlier, she probably wouldn't have gotten that critical 1 point, Nathan. 1 point made the difference there. Congratulations to Sarah Snowpins for some very smart racing today.
I also want to give a shout out to Morgan Yuseni to get them across as well because the first round she went too early. The tactic wasn't right. She went from almost, I think, 300 meters, maybe 350 meters out from the sprint on that Tempest Fugit. And in the first round of the Tempest Fugit go. Then in the second round, she ended up
Teammate,
in
different
second
race,
place
right?
because she made the different time teammate in a different rate. Timing though from Yuseni there in the Tempest Fugit rate is also what got them into this final because she didn't get that second place. It didn't matter for Van Houweling and Anna Russell. If she performed as she did in the first time on Tempest Fugit, she only got 1 point the first time on Tempest Fugit. So that change up in tactics, figuring out how to do that Tempest Fugit correctly in the sprint, Yuseni then put them back on the board. And because to be honest, Dave, where they stood after the first couple of races, I was like, whoa, what's going on with Star Snowpins? Are they even going to make it? And they ended up rallying, figuring out their tactics. They went back to the drawing board. And it goes to show that within squad skirmish, you can learn a lot and come back from being behind in this kind of race format.
100%. So we've got 3 new venues that we'll be heading to. Our virtual racing part. One of the things that you could never do in real life will be in Watopia, Volcano Circuit, and Quatch Quest for our next 3 races here. So what's really changing now is the gamification. Part of what makes Zwift so much fun are the power-ups. And you can see the Aero, Invisibility, Burrito, and Draft will all come into play. I think the 2 on the edges there, Draft and Aero, will be the most desirable. The points go from 10 down to 1. Again, this is the first of 3 final events. The teams have submitted well earlier who they will have in the events in case they qualified. So that was not a last second decision here. They already knew what they were going to do and what they were up against. It's 9.4K, so much longer in distance than what we've seen, 109 meters of climbing. And Nathan, this is pretty straightforward. Watopia, Hilly, Reverse, of course, that all of these riders will know very, very well.
Anybody who wants to be a breakaway specialist in that race, that's the one that really can make it happen. And with tired legs and only 10 to 5 riders, not a big pack, maybe be able to do so. Another one, though, here we saw riders try and get away last week on this one, but it all came down to a broken up bunch sprint. It's going to be race number 5, 2.7 kilometers. They're heading on over to the volcano circuit, but they're not going to do the full circuit. They're just going to go into that sprint banner. It's a little bit of an uphill punch, actually, into the sprint banner after a downhill speed up section. And then as you get into that volcano, actually, it is a pretty good kick uphill to the banner. You also have a little bit of an uphill as you leave the pens over in Watopia there, because you end up having that little incline with the underpass before you head through the bridge on over toward the volcano circuit. Very interesting one. Only disruption power ups here with invisibility and burritos. So that'll also make it really interesting for those who do want to try and break away.
And our final race, where it'll all be decided out here for Squad Skirmish, round 3, Watopia's Quatch Quest, a legendary course, 122 meters of climbing, over 5.1 kilometers of racing distance. So you're going to see the points here. This will sort it all out for us. 10 down to 1 for our top 10 riders. Nathan, this course is another really challenging one to crack the code on.
Yeah, we saw a lot of attacks. Ollie Jones last week going time and time again. Coalition Alpha really setting things up well, actually, on this course. I believe it was for Kaminsky to get away, actually, after Ollie Jones made attack after attack. So we'll see if something similar happens on the Quatch Quest, because it does have a lot of rolling punches, and riders could build up speed through those rolling punches before you even hit the Queen of the Mountain section near the mountain bike course, actually, out on Zwift on this reverse KOM of the Titans Grove that they will be doing for the final punch to the line. Only, well, 5.1 kilometers. It's a pretty good distance there, Dave, to pull some tactics. And I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of attacks actually out there with only 10 to 5 riders.
As we mentioned, the rosters have been predetermined here, so the riders will be getting ready at this point. The fields will be much smaller, so it becomes, again, almost like racing out of a breakaway here with these very small groups that you start with. Let's take a look again at Aeonian here. They came in as the top team, and I have a feeling that they are very motivated to hold on to that top spot on the table. There's the American Olympian, Ariel Verhaeren. Polona Itkin has become a big talent to watch out here. Angela Roberts really showing her sprinting chops today, as she just didn't go outside the top 3 in her 4 events. Watch out for the reigning world champion, Los Adigis, the Dutch rider, a tremendous talent. And then up-and-coming star, Eva van Acht. That is Aeonian, the first of the 5 teams to advance into our finals, Nathan.
It'll be really interesting to talk about how they place those riders actually as we get into those races. There, Eleanor Wiseman there for the first race, only a single rider. This is making a lot of sense for that 9-kilometer race. I think we might see that a lot. Jen Reel there for race 5 alongside our Anna Russell to take on the essentially sprint into the volcano circuit. And then it's Morgan Useni and Liz Van Howling for the punch into Titans Grove for Saris No Pins. The heavy hitters here coming into this. If you make the qualifier, Dave, it's so interesting to see how they place these riders.
Sox for Watts is the third of 5 teams to advance here. And for race 4, they'll be going with Goxi Paul. Again, they have 5 riders to put into 3 races. So Goxi will be the lone representative for Sox for Watts out there on Watopia Hilly, that 9.4 kilometer test. Volcano Circuit, we'll see Ruth Shire and Katie Loker for race 5. And then race 6, the final, Lou Bates, who's just been tremendous today. On form, Lou Bates, and the legend, Alice Lethbridge. So that's how Sox for Watts has decided to set their roster.
Maren Larson is going into race 4 alongside Alina Willian, one of the only teams that is putting multiple riders into that first 9-kilometer race around the Watopia Hilly reverse. There it is going to be Marley Mayhes now in for race number 5 alongside Emily Ehrlich. That's going to be the 2 riders here jumping into the volcano circuit. Interesting to see, maybe a little bit of a lead out there from Emily, followed by Mayhes, I would think. And then Kristen Kolchinski is going to be the solo rider, going to be able to hold her own most likely into Titans Grove is what they are thinking, to try and take as many points as they can for the final race number 6.
All right, and that leaves Wahoo Lacole as our final team. There is not a week link on this squad. Lizzie Brooke will represent Wahoo Lacole in race 4. Race 5, we'll see Catherine Furter and Coralie Arthur. And then the final race there, Quatch Quest, will be Zoe Langham and Lindsay Cassie. Boy, every one of those names rings true as a real talent in esports. That's your 5 teams. The gladiators of esports are ready to lock horns out here. Nathan, it's really interesting, isn't it? You don't see many 5-team events like what we have here. Again, it speaks to the fun that we've been having with the Zwift Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see with these whittled down packs now. Not as quite as many riders, right? We could have 24 to 12 in the first 3 rounds of racing that we've seen so far, but now we only have 10 to 5. With smaller packs here, Dave, I think the tactics can play out a little bit more. If you have multiple riders within one race with only 10 to 5 riders, there's a lot more opportunity to make an attack and say nobody's going to chase me most likely, or if they do, they're going to have to burn a lot of matches, and the group is not going to roll. It's not going to turn quite as well, and so that's going to burn matches of other riders. It's a lot more women versus women. It's a lot more head-to-head battle that can play out, where when you sacrifice something, you're going to get a lot more out of that sacrifice to the race.
That's really well put, Nathan. The gravity of the peloton is nowhere near as strong as it would normally be, forcing riders. If you send someone up the road, much like we saw with Elena and Kristen Kolchinski for VBR, it really does put the pressure on the other teams, allowing your teammate to sit in. I mean, let's be honest, that's bike racing 101. If you can force your competitors to have to chase back your teammate, it puts you in the driver's seat if you've got the ability. And that really is going to be the point here, is when you've got teammates doing work for you, it is such a great feeling to close out the deal. And that's really a lot of the spirit of what we've got in this community of esports, is these teams are racing their hearts out, not only for themselves, but for the team and each other. And it brings so much more out of you here. So we have really whittled this down. We've got 25 of the top esports athletes in the world. And Nathan right now probably taking in one last sugar gel, I would think, a little top off the energy, because you're going to need it out here. This first race at Watopia Hilly is almost 10K, so significantly longer than what we've seen so far today. But for these athletes, that's still just barely tapping into the depth of their endurance reserves.
Yeah, it's a very quick race, but a lot longer than what we've seen so far. 9K is going to be definitely a much more tactical race. We do head on over to the Essies immediately. That's going to be the first opportunity that we are going to see where riders may be able to make some moves. Through the sprint arch, over the JW Bridge, and then on over toward the Arch Bridge. That one then into the reverse Watopia climb. There's a punch right from the get-go there that gets into the double digits when it comes to the gradient, Dave. And I think that's going to be the next place to be watching out for, unless somebody wants to make a move through the Italian Village or some of those flatter parts to get a little bit of gap prior to the reverse KOM. But then on the reverse KOM, there should be a pretty good punch, I think, through there, where we might see some riders. The sprinters, there are some sprinters in here that are amongst this crew that may be looking to sit in, while they're stronger FTP, VO2 max type riders, they're punchers, might be trying to make some moves a little bit, let them go off the front, or bring back anybody who tries to go off the front. So if you stack this one at all, I know a couple of teams maybe 1 or 2 teams put 2 riders in here. You've got a big advantage over a 9K race with 2 riders, and it is going to be Virginia's Blue Ridge, actually, with the only 2 riders here. So they have a big advantage, Dave.
Yeah, and we're just a few seconds away from start. So here we go. The finals now for the 3rd week of racing for our women, and we are underway. So, Nathan, it really is interesting to see such a small group of riders. Some teams opted to put 2, and I think that was, there's got to be a little bit of luck, as you won't have known what the other teams were doing when you submit your roster. So is this already a win for Virginia Blue Ridge with 2 riders in this small group, Nathan?
Oh, they got to still do the work, though, Dave. And with such a small group here, I'm not sure it's going to be able to happen. We'll see. It's a huge advantage, but you've got to play it. You can't be sitting around with this tactic, right? Like, you've got to take advantage of what you have. Use the resources here if you believe in your riders. If you do have a rider that's got the talent to make something happen, use it. Because if you just go to the line, it's a big dice roll.
So here's what I would be doing if I was director for Virginia Blue Ridge. I would say, ladies, if we can keep this together for the first half of this race, let's do that. And then I most likely have Lawson attack the Canadian here and just see if they're willing to give her too much leash. And if they are, great. We'll pick up top points out here. Elena Wuyan is a finalist in the Zwift Academy. She's really proving herself to be a top-notch racer. I would bet on her all day long. Certainly now Lizzie Brooke and Goxie Paul, to me, Nathan, they're the two most likely riders to take the top points out here, but Elaine Wuyan has got a teammate that might put her over the top.
Yeah, and as they're looking here, it does look like everybody's just kind of watching each other. 3.9 watts per kilogram, not a whole lot that they're putting out at this point. Controlling the front,
it's just
though,
making a shorter race.
Lawson and Wuyan.
Yeah, this makes it effectively a shorter race for the 2024 team, which benefits them, to tell you the truth. I think that they would love to see this go down to... So that Ghost being
9.2 there. Wuyan now making a move. It looks like 8.8 watts per kilogram, 9.7. Wuyan makes the move. Lizzie Brooke now going to chase it down immediately here.
Well, the hostilities, like, Nathan, now well underway.
Yeah, Verhaeren now making the move to cover it. She's not going to trust anybody who's going to bring that back. She's actually using a drafting power-up to get back onto Lawson's wheel, but the gap is already there. She's out by 2.6 seconds, and these three are all together here. The roll-through, Virginia's Blue Ridge now has two up front here. This is all in. You've got to go at this point, perhaps. Now, Wuyan now going backwards now a little bit here. Verhaeren now closing it down. Is anyone going to be dropped at this point? It's going to be the question. It closes it all down. Will there be a counter, Dave? That would just be such a perfect time.
All right, taking a look now at a little bit of a regrouping here, but these ladies are going to be throwing everything at it, Nathan. No doubt about it. But right now, a little bit of calming down. Interesting to see 2024 playing some cards, though. They want to stir the pot. I love that.
Yeah, 100%. It's great timing to do so, actually, as they come through these Essies here, making sure that they're using this section best they can. Look at, let's say, Paul. She looks super calm, actually, Dave. Like, almost, I think she's listening to music, perhaps, dancing on the pedals a little bit here. This is really great to see the way that this rider is taking on this situation here. She just dances on the pedals a little bit of a groove going on there from Ghost State Paul. She makes her way to the front and covers the front of this race. Weissman now at 2.3 watts per kilogram. About to get the real kick out of the Essies, though. This is a nice little punch as they head down toward the JW Bridge here in just a moment for the little sprint section. No points or anything awarded through the sprint section, but this little punch right here sometimes is an opportunity to have a lot of speed on the other side. Looks like everyone's going to watch each other through it, though.
Goxie Paul, a relative newcomer to this level of esports racing. She's got the talent, no doubt about it, and is certainly getting all her ducks in a row as far as figuring out how things play. Always going to be a rider to watch, no doubt about it. And in this group, it's easy to imagine her taking the top points now. This is the Iron Woman, Lizzie Brooke, that we're looking at. The other end of the spectrum, a tremendous amount of esports experience for Lizzie Brooke out here on the Wahoo Lacole team. A great representative for the team on this course. I think that was a great choice for Wahoo Lacole, Nathan.
Using that power up there just to get rid of it, I believe, as it's not going to be worth a whole lot in the final sprint. She does get a little bit of gap on that downhill we had talked about. She kicked up an 8 watts per kilogram the moment that it went downhill. She made sure to get way more speed than the rest of the pack. Since the pack's not very big, they're not going to roll through with too much of a snowball effect on that downhill through here. Grabbing another power-up. We did see a couple of invisibilities. Go say Paul used her invisibility just a moment ago as well. I believe as Lawson. I might have missed it as a who did. Wuyan looking to go across at 8.2 watts per kilogram right now, it looks like, over the top of this pack and make sure she does not drag them with her. Always a really smart move, Dave, to not drag the pack with you and kick really hard to get that initial gap. She does get 1 second over them at this point. Will she be able to close down this gap to Brooke, though, as Brooke is committed at 5.6 steady?
Yeah, I mean, and right now when you look at it, it's going to be Lawson. Let's see if she can sit in this group, and she is, so that's a great job there. This is Elena Wuyan, again, Zwift Academy finalist, so she's coming into some really good form right now. She gets up and out of the saddle, absolutely drilling it now. A lot of heart there as Lizzie Brooke, our leader, has got Elena just 2.5 seconds back.
Go say Paul now going to the front of 5.5. She's looking to do the work for Socks for Watts, but again, she doesn't have any teammates here at this point. And Lawson and Verhaeren, they're the ones who are sitting in, playing it as smart as they possibly can. I believe that Verhaeren believes this is going to be pulled back, and she is sitting in. But now at 5 seconds here,
I don't
Dave,
know.
Brooke is starting to get some gap here. Unless somebody starts to do something, they now bring Wu Yan back. They obviously had the trust for that. But if they just start watching Lizzie Brooke roll away, this is a triathlete who's got a major engine on her. She's not even in sight anymore, Dave. There she is, just around the corner. 6.6, 7. They're letting her go, Dave, and she's got this triathlete can go like this all day long.
Absolutely. And the gap is ballooning right now. It's growing like a mushroom in the spring. I mean, she is not coming back. So it looks like these ladies, and again, I can understand because, Nathan, what happens now is it's such a small group, and if you aren't on 2024 and you're leading this chase, you're just putting yourself behind the 8 ball. So at this point now, I would say race for second. Unless you want to be taking 6th, you got to race for second here because, this is really how tactical things get right now. But Lizzie Brooke is gone. She's not coming back.
11 seconds. Here's the thing, Dave.
She's got the engine for it.
Now 6 watts per kilogram. She's got the engine for it. My only pushback there, just a little bit, Dave, is she needs, I think, 15 seconds. Now, and even there, the only reason I say that is because at 4.5 watts per kilogram, if that's what she has, all the way to the end, these ladies are going to kick so hard over the top of this 11% gradient. You can make up a lot of time there. And then they're going to have a really good roll-through speed on the flatter sections of the reverse KOM. They may be able to bring it back, but it's only 5 riders, Dave. It's right on the edge. It's really about their commitment at this next section. We'll find out in just a few seconds, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the way things are going right now, the gap is just about to hit 16 seconds. So my estimation is that Lizzie Brooke is gone. I don't think that these women have enough horsepower at this point now to bring that back, but that's why we have them race the entire distance. They're halfway through this, 4.2K to go. Goxie Paul, in my estimation, is the biggest talent back in this group, and if she doesn't want to lead a chase through, I don't know how they're going to catch her back.
Yeah, and it does look like they're going to keep it pretty calm, actually, Dave. At this, and there isn't any interest. I thought perhaps there would be some interest over the top of this climb right here, but they're definitely watching each other. The other thing is that Lawson and Wu Yan now at this point may be just thinking about getting as many points as they possibly can for Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024. There's Lizzie Brooke. She kicks into 7.3 watts per kilogram. She's climbing this harder than the rest of the entirety of that pack who are watching each other. This game is over. What Lawson says in response looks to say, look, if you're not going to chase her down, I'll at least break this pack up. Goxie Paul now goes to 7 watts per kilogram. This is the fireworks I was talking about here, Dave. At 5.6 watts per kilogram from Brooke, will they fade? We're going to have to really watch the comparison of the numbers here. There is the snowball effect on the downhill from this pack, but are they going to watch each other over the top here, or are they going to work together? I think they're going to watch each other, and Brooke will continue on.
Taking a look at Goxie Paul now, the Sox for Watts rider moving up to the front. She's the danger woman. Well, and you got to look at Weissman as well, the Sarah Snowpins rider who's moving on to the wheel of Goxie here. But the gap now starting to come down, so it looks like it hit the high water mark there for Lizzie Brooke, but I don't think that she has any panic at all. I'd expect her to sit right on about 4 to 5 watts for the rest of the route and be able to pull this one off. There isn't another race today. She's fresh off of Ironman World Championship in Kona just a couple of weeks ago, so I'd imagine that she's got some residual tremendous form out here. I think there's plenty in the bank, and you can see she's back up over the watts there with 5 watts, 5.6 watts per kilo. She's not coming back.
Yeah, and there's no interest. 3.8 watts per kilogram. If you take a risk on this somewhat undulating, flatter climb, it's just going to end up biting you perhaps in the end, and you can race for second. So it looks like Brooke now at this point, she is gone, barring any kind of catastrophe. She has this in the bag. 22 seconds now. What a ride from Wahoo Nicole and Lizzie Brooke. They put the right chips on the table when it comes to a 9K attack here. Well, I think she went from about probably 6K.
Well,
great move here from Wahoo Nicole.
they say the best defense is a good offense, and that was exactly what we saw there from Lizzie Brooks. Rather than wait to get tag team by the 2024 squad, she got out way in front of that and put them behind the eight ball. So some tactical brilliance there from Lizzie Brooks and Wahoo Nicole. So they're off to a good start. This is going to be a real battle now. I mean, you have to look at Weissman, Verhaeren, Lawson, Paul, and Wu Yan. There's some big talent in this group. So the fight for silver, but in all honesty, it's only 1 point less than the win out here. So it's all on the line right now. I love the pumpkins.
I really want to talk a little bit. The pumpkins are amazing there. It's a little bit of a Halloween feature jumping in to game. As now, one thing I want to speak to is the development of this esports athlete who is Ariel Verhaeren. An Olympic athlete, Verhaeren on the BMX, and the changes that she has made to her training regimen. She's an amazing coach of the highest level. Coaches athletes at the absolute highest level, and obviously has taken that wisdom and put it into going over to the world of esports. And this is a big change up, Dave, to go from being a BMX rider that's got that just 1 30-second kick and now being able to jump into esports racing at this level and be able to hang on climbs like this. My question is, will she have that BMX like kick at the finish line here? Because I've been watching her sit in pretty much this entire time. She has not risked anything except for covering moves and then being third wheel almost all the time. I think Verhaeren is saving up for that kind of kick to the line.
I think it's pretty clear that when a sprinter is climbing well, and sprinter, BMX rider, it's pretty close to the same thing. That the snap that you need, and Verhaeren is climbing tremendously well. She seemed everything you said, Nathan, I would echo. She seems to have found another level here. But I mean, when you look at where Elena Wu Yan is at right now into the Zwift Academy finals, she's really been honing her craft. We're back with the Chase group right now as the gap, though. They completely let it go with Lizzie Brooks. Lizzie Brooks is now in a different postal code than the race behind her. So we're going to focus, I think, on what's going on behind Lizzie as she's down to 1.1K of racing, and a lot of it is downhill here. So this 5-rider sprint for second place, that's the bike race now.
Yeah, and as you can see, Verhaeren now sitting in, spinning it at a steady 1.5 watts per kilogram here. 119 RPMs, actually, as Lizzie Brooks continues on. She's almost got a minute over this pack. What an effort by Brooke here, as you see. But now this is going to be interesting, Dave, because once in a while, you do see a 500, 400 meter to go kick at the bottom of this, the roll through. And there it is, Weissman, but interesting spot to be using that. I would have personally used that at the roll through at the bottom, because that pack is going to have still a really good amount of speed. She uses it at the sharpest section, actually, to gain as much speed as she can and kicks up into 7 watts per kilogram. Verhaeren knows that this is a move. She goes to 12 watts per kilogram, Dave. That is a massive, huge effort here, and she's going to maybe pull this whole pack all the way through here. 236 meters to go through the line. It's Verhaeren, Weissman, and Lawson that have made the front group. Oh, excuse me, the Chase
front group.
Yeah,
and it looks like now Lawson has got to be chuffed with the ride that she's having out here, as that's going to be the Canadian trying to come through to take second. That's Lizzie Brooks for the win that we're looking at. So score that one for Lizzie Brooks. But this is going to be Eleanor Weissman, the Saris No Pins rider. Nathan, she's going to be hungry for that silver medal. Let's see, only one woman gets to lick her plate clean now for that silver, and it looks like it might be Lawson. How about this ride today?
Lawson saving the power up for the perfect timing, but Goetze Paul also has one as well, but it's only 7 watts per kilogram for here. Here comes Verhaeren, though, right to the line. Lawson hangs on. Verhaeren comes on through for third. It's going to be Goetze Paul for fourth. Weissman followed up by Wu Yan. That is the order. Brooke takes the win. Lawson from Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 with the saved power up, as you could see. Verhaeren used a drafting power up, actually. It looked like, worried about what Weissman was up to off the front there. It wasn't going to actually go anywhere. And perhaps that usage of the power up, Dave, that we saw from Verhaeren kept her out of that final race. Because if she would have had that, it's a great counter to that arrow power up.
Yeah, ultimately, she can't be too disappointed picking up the 8 points there for third. Lawson really punched above her weight. Tremendous ride to end up in second. And Lizzie Brooke doing what Lizzie Brooke does. Timed that well, tactically astute, and had the engine to back it up. So Lizzie will take the 10 points for our first place rider. Goxie Paul in at fourth. Eleanor Weissman for fifth. And Elena Wuyan ends up in sixth. So that's how we'll distribute the points from the first of three races in our final. Again, we reset all of the points for the teams after the first 8 races. We'll be heading to Volcano Circuit and Quatch Quest coming up next. But here's how things stand with 2 riders in that race. Nathan, that certainly played into Virginia Blue Ridge 2024's favor.
It did, Dave. It's a big jump for them, as we just saw. They took second and sixth. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out with this point structure going into the next races. That second place is a big jump for them. But if some of the other teams are able to grab, a first and third, a second and fourth, and stack a little bit more in the middle there, it is going to give a good boost to them over the top of Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024. But they put a lot on the shoulders of Kristen Kolchinski in that final race. She's the solo rider in the final race. They changed things up and trusted that she could hold her own there. So these first 2 races for them, this is where they can gain a lot of points from their other riders being stacking these first 2 races. Very different than what we've seen from the rest of the teams actually. Wahoo Lacole there with 10, Aoni and 8, Misak Watts, and then followed up by Sarah Snowpins. That's going to be the situation currently out on course. Lizzie Brooke, what a move. 10 points across the line.
Big time athletes, Nathan, live for these kind of moments. Talking about Kristen Kolchinski going into that final, but there's multiple big time stars in the Zwift Grand Prix. Liz Van Houweling, you could say the same thing. So the pressure ratchets up. We only have 7.8 kilometers of racing left over the next 2 events here. It's going to be Volcano Circuit. This one is fast and furious, Nathan, for our riders looking into it now. This is going to be, we call it race 5. This is the 5th venue that we visited of 6 out here today. And you can see the points, same thing, going down from 10 to 1, although the power-ups aren't quite as robust. It's an invisibility and a burrito. As Nathan says, disruption power-ups. Distance at 2.7K. It's only 20 meters of elevation. So, Nathan, I think that the sprinters are going to be licking their lips to get ready for this one now. Squad Skirmish, round 3, race 5 up next.
Yeah, and at only 2.7 kilometers last week, we did see very well timed attacks. Spencer Sagerbrook looking to try and stay away. We saw early attack going into that section where we just saw the women take on the initial climb into the Essies, but they're going to be taking a right hand turn away from the Essies and then heading on over toward the volcano circuit. That also gives a little bit of opportunity right there with a little bit of an uphill punch to make an initial move. A lot of times, right after that, there's a little bit of a downhill. Dave, in bike racing, a lot of times it's the punch over the top of the climb, the continuance over the top of the climb into the descent that gains the most speed. So a lot right there, we also saw a move last week from the men's race after a move up the initial climb. Great countering point. I have a feeling we're gonna, maybe see some learning from last week though, because at the end of the day, last week it all got brought back together, and it was a sprint coming from Thomas Thrall, I believe it was, that ended up taking things down from way behind because he sat and waited. But it is their own race here. The women are who they put in here, what the teams have for their tactics. It's going to be really interesting to see because how short this is. There's only so much landscape to work with, but there is enough to make constant moves.
With such a short duration of racing, Nathan, it's so hard to stay patient. And that's where the experience really pays off. I have really been impressed in esports how the learning curve is steep out here. And where you definitely find that athletes come in from in real life with tremendous success, find it very complicated to figure out how to get the timing right out here. Still, in real life racing, obviously you need to wait for your moment as well. But I mean, you can see it in these frenetic finales where the lead will change multiple times in the last 500 meters, and the race really isn't won until we can go back and look at the back end API to see exactly how things played out. Tremendous sprinting requires the best timing, no doubt about it.
as far as the sprint race goes in this final, this is the sprinters race. Like we kind of saw that a little bit in the last race for those who were watching each other and just tried to follow the moves to wait for that final sprint. But again, Lizzie Brooke took full advantage of what that course had to offer for attacks and was able to play her cards right and get away. Also, when we talk about the Quatch Quest and the reverse tight growth KOM, that is a situation where you can play some more cards, try and get away, go bottom to top. But in this situation, it's a flatter race. There's only one real climb out on course, and then a couple of little undulations where you can get a lot of speed and time your punch exactly right to get away or get into that final sprint. I think it's going to be a little bit of a drag race to the line, Dave, because of the way that you roll into this with that downhill into the uphill punch. It does favor a little bit lighter sprinter. It does favor somebody who can punch uphill rather than just straight flat downhill or flat sprint.
The teams had critical decisions to make. Where do they place their resources? And this one now we're well inside of 1 minute to start here. So we'll have the riders out on course. It's only going to be a little more than 3 minutes until we get this one sorted out for you here. But now we have to remember that, Blue Ridge 2024, they decided to put 2 riders into that first race. So it's you can pay me now or you can pay me later thing. So they're going to have to pay back a little bit out here. Let's head right down into the pens as we're just about to send our riders out on course. This is the second of 3 final events. Our top 5 teams have qualified. There's the Norwegian Polona Itken, certainly a rider to watch, as Aeonian's going to try to make some ground back out here now, Nathan, as they things move the advantage into their favor with 2 riders out here. We are underway.
Polona Itken, as you can see, always extremely concentrated. 5.3 watts per kilogram right from the get-go. The avatar's a little bit more out of the saddle a couple times there. It looks like Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 taking over at the front here. Marlies Maya is going to be on this, as well as Emily Eric. This is going to be for your race number 5. Catherine Ferrer is here, as we see Jen Reel also from Sarah Snowpins. Anna Russell is in here as well. That tactician, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a roll through from her, but here comes Angela Roberts with 7.8 watts per kilogram. I think they're all trying to find their positioning, though, at this point, and no serious kick. Now, they did put Katie Loker, Sock Schwartz, in here. I think that's a great call, being the main sprinter's course.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, Nathan. One thing that we've learned, though, is that Angela Roberts has a tremendous kick. She would be my revelation of this Zwift Grand Prix, to tell you the truth. The Aeonian rider has really represented herself and her team quite well out here. And there's another rider when I see Ehrlich, as Emily Ehrlich out of Detroit had a great start to her criterium season, and then some injuries, and now it looks like she's really coming back and strong. This is the New Zealander, the professional triathlete, Anna Russell, that we're looking at now. Russell, Nathan, a rider that might take a flyer, I say with a question mark at the end of my voice there.
I would actually say that the hope of Sarah Snowpins is tactics in this race and trying to break everybody else through them. I'm surprised they haven't already made a move, because the reality is here, unless they're just trying to eke out as many points as they possibly can in this race, I'm just not seeing how this tactic plays out for them. They're up against some of the best sprinters in the world, and I just don't. Anna Russell and Jen, they need to make some moves here, because these other riders, they go toe to toe, and just the reality is, I think they got to find the right timing here. And I think they're toward the front here right now, maybe to try and make that happen. It depends on what power-ups they have as well. They just got them through that lap of Arch Banner here. When's the move going to be made? Because essentially you go to the line, it's just going to be racing for something other than first, in my opinion. There's an invisibility power-up. Who's using it? It's going to be the big question. Nobody's really going, though.
I have to think, Nathan, that so this is Emily that we're looking at right now, moving up to the front, that the teams that have got, so she's trying to set up her teammate, Mejias here, Marlies Mejias, the Cuban rider that has come in so highly touted. And there you go. That's clearly their plan here today. But Katie Loker has been nearly unbeatable. Most likely rider to do that would be Angela Roberts in this group. I see now that we've got Federer moving up. She's got Coralie Arthur with her in this group. A couple more potent sprinters here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they use Coralie Arthur alongside of Fuhrer. Both of them, actually, Fuhrer, interesting enough, the stronger sprinter that we've seen so far when it came to 300 meters. Will Coralie Arthur have a little bit more kick when it comes to more of a drag race. We're going to see they take a left-hand turn. There'll be a little bit of a downhill, a little bump, and then another downhill before they take the right hand in just a moment. Only 1K to go, Dave. Nobody's made any moves. There we go. There it is. A Burrito power up coming from Shire. Ruth Shire makes a move for Sox for Watts. Jen Rio covers it.
Yeah, and so she was undraftable for a moment. The gamification of Zwift comes into play there. She uses that burrito perfectly. This is going to be Ruth Shire hitting out with authority. She's down to 800 meters to go. This has got the alarm bells ringing. It's going to be the Texan for Sarah Snowpins, Jen Reel leading up the chase. This is most of the sprinters that we saw in what was previously race number one. They're going to have at it now. But Nathan, I'll throw it back to you at 600 meters to go. Ruth Shire opening up a nice little gap here.
Angela Roberts now leading out Pitkin, though. That's the reality that's happened here because it's 9.4 watts per kilogram on the downhill. That's most likely going to close down this 2 seconds, I would think. But Ruth Shire continues on at 7.3. Vera now using the visibility power up. Good timing on that as she looks to go and just lead things completely out. Says, forget it. I got to make the catch. Now, this is the uphill we had talked about, Dave. It's right to the line. 250 meters. Ruth Shire is fading. Captain Fur is coming right on through. She's going to make it happen, but it's Vera just the lead out woman for Pitkin. It's going to be Itkin. Itkin trying to come through right to the line. I think Itkin's going to do it because it's uphill kick, and now it's going to be Itkin. What amazing result for the Norwegian. I think that's the first outright win we've seen for Itkin in this Grand Prix so far. Amazing result.
Nathan, Virginia Blue Ridge put 2 in the top 5 there. The way this point structure works. And there you go. It's a nice celebration.
So good.
That's going to be a proud daughter, I must say. So this is Norway that we're visiting, the home of Polona Itkin. And that is absolutely beautiful. She's got some real fan support there at home. But Nathan, I got to say, Virginia Blue Ridge, I have a feeling that they picked up a lot of valuable points. It's really going to come down to Kolchinski in that final race. If she can win, they might just pull off a huge one here today. Tremendous excitement with the Zwift Grand Prix. Polona Itkin, you are my hero. What a great ride by the Norwegian on Aeonian today. And she'll pick up the 10 points with Captain Führer 9 in second, the Cuban. So a Norwegian, a German, and a Cuban. How international is Zwift? I love it. In third place is the Cuban. It's Erlach, the American, here in fourth. Corley Arthur out of Scotland in fifth. Katie Loker for sixth. That goes to show you things are wide open out here. The New Zealander, Anna Russell, in seventh. It's going to be Ruth Shire there for the Sox for Watts team in eighth. Angela Roberts in ninth, and Jen Reel. So, Nathan, what's interesting to me is this time we see Loker and Roberts not in the top 3. Things changed when you make them race into the sprint rather than starting with the sprint.
I wonder,
awesome.
The question I'm wondering here, I'm loving the waving, and if watching the broadcast back, I have a feeling that she was, because she comes running in, you know, and obviously knows what had just happened there. That, you know, we're going to call those are hug watts. She's got tons of hug watts coming on through from her daughter there, and a lot of motivation actually to put on a show for mom there. Absolutely love it. Wahoo Loco there, 15 points at the top, though. It's going to be Virginia's Blue Ridge keeping it steady at 15 points as well there in second place. The Aeonians sitting with 12, but they've got a stacked field at the end to really try and pull out the win. It's going to be Sox for Watts with 8 points, and then Sarah Snowpins for 5 points right now. This is the situation for the event. That's just this event that we just watched. Look at the difference between that and the first event because it was so stacked. Now, this is a situation, Dave, after round 3, after 2 races.
Yeah, one of the best things that Zwift has ever done is giving moms and dads an opportunity to compete at such a high level and not have to travel to do it so they can still be home with their families. Just beautiful. So the teams now, 6 through 11, those places were decided in our qualifiers, but the continuing on are our top 5 teams here. And it was Virginia Blue Ridge there. Now they're going to be down to 1 rider in the final race, and this is what's made the so much fun in the Zwift Grand Prix, is that you have to make tough choices. Let's see if they made the right ones or not. Wahoo Lakul is only 4 points back, sitting in second. Aeonian is in third with Polona Itkin's beautiful win there. They're right in the hunt. Sox for Watts in fourth and Sarah Snowpins rounding out our top five. But we've got one race left to sort out round three. But that's where it stands. You won't see any more points being added for 6 to 11. Those spots have been solidified, but everything's still in play in our top five here.
Wahoo Cole in second place. Really interesting because they have two riders, I think, in the final. So that's really going to change things up. It's Kristen Kolchinski versus Wahoo Cole for those final spots here. Let's go ahead and take a look at replay, though, at how this ended up playing out because Lona Inkin, that's her first big win at this level, and the timing was so perfect. And this was her perfect kind of sprint, I think. She's got a good punch on her, but the reality of an all-out Watt Fest against some of these monsters wasn't there in the past. But with that little bit of an uphill and the timing with the roll through, look at her celebration! Absolutely love it. Lona Inkin making it happen, the Norwegian for Aeonian, and she's got distance, Dave. She was just the best on this race.
Yeah, if she ever wants to come over and race criteriums in North America, I'm sure I could find a team for her because she just beat two of the best crit racers in the States right now in that sprint. So that's certainly got to be encouraging. Isn't it awesome, Nathan, when you see athletes discovering their potential in sport who maybe never would have had an opportunity, as obviously she's a mom and has got that life there. And now she gets to find out that she is an esports monster. No doubt. Well, Nathan, I'm excited. I really am because everything's in play here for round three of the Zwift Grand Prix. Our men have already raced in this format. Now the women get their chance to find out who the top team. We've had three different formats along the way here. They've all been extremely exciting, but I have a feeling this one's going to remain, I would think, the most popular when it's done and dusted. We've got our World Championships coming up in March, and we're really honing in on what that event is going to look like.
Yeah, it's interesting how this final might play out because where you put your riders is really going to shine now. We've been talking a lot about Krista Kolchinski having a lot on her shoulders. Virginia Blue Ridge, 2024, they're currently at the top of 29 points. Wahoo Cole right on their heels, but they have two really strong riders in there. Aeonian as well. They've got two really strong riders in the final. Sox Watts, over and over again, we've seen this situation now where a lot of chips were put on the table in the first round. Ken Kolchinski, I mean, the reality is like 29 points. There's only a 4-point difference between him and Wahoo Cole. Wahoo Cole need to not perform in this final for Virginia Blue Ridge to be able to hang on. And then there's a 9-point differentiation between them and Aeonian. And Aeonian's got the current reigning world champion in there, Dave. And she looked like
Who's fresh?
The forward queen of the mountain.
Who's fresh?
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be huge. That tactical decision to not waste calories. They're going to take a look at the riders who are warming up right now. But Nathan, that's a great point. But Kolchinski is always up for the fight, no doubt about it. Another rider we have to remember here is Liz Van Houweling, and there she is. That's Liz that we're in with now. Liz is another Zwift Academy finalist, a rider who is rampaging right now in esports, a tremendous asset to the community as well. She's been part of the Zwift Communique family, and genuinely, I'm a huge fan of what Liz Van Houweling is all about. So let's see what she can pull off. She looks very, very motivated right now. We're going to join Kristen Kolchinski there in Long Island. Kristen Kolchinski is a true battler out here. She doesn't give an inch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out because Morgan Useni from Sarah Snowpins as well as Liz Van Houweling in here, and both of them, I think, are punchier riders. They both have a really strong sprint on them. They are the types that can hang on to a final and then punch. Not punch as a pure sprinter, the top of the line sprinters, but can definitely punch at the end of a strong climb like this. It's going to be a little shorter. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out for them. Kolchinski's got a lot here to race against, but then, of course, Louis Adagis, and we saw only 1 point from her on the forward queen of the mountain, but we do not believe that was from a lack of fitness or a lack of ability. We think that's because she was holding up for this moment right here to take the outright win on the final race.
Wahoo Nicole with 2, Saris No Pins with 2. So you really get the feeling, and Aeonian remembering that the world champion there wearing the Arc-en-Ciel, the rainbow jersey, she has a teammate in this field as well. So it's going to take a lot now for Kristen Kolchinski. Kristen Kolchinski really needs to win this race outright for her team to have a chance to make the podium here today out of this group of 5. But she can absolutely do it. This is the strongest group that I think if you look at this pound for pound, ounce for ounce, Nathan, this is the strongest 10-rider group I've ever seen in my life.
I'd have to agree with that. I don't think I've seen a stronger Zwift
look at this.
As far
it's
as
like all-stars.
This genre, it essentially is. It is essentially, if you looked at the rankings of each of these women and their power, their race results, this is the best of the best. Now, one person, though, I would say that's a new addition to this is going to be Lindsay Cassie. But she has proven herself last week. She took the outright win on the climbs in London last week. And so I have a feeling, she has put herself amongst these names that is a world champion amongst them as well here. She's at that level now, which is so great to see this discovery of new riders through this format.
Can I add Van Act to that group as well, Nathan? I'd say the same thing about her. A huge talent. We just haven't seen her quite enough at this level. There goes an attack, and it's going to be Lindsay Cassie. So right on cue, Lindsay Cassie has hit out with authority. This is a massive talent coming out of the woodwork just in the last few months. And Nathan, here we go. This one is officially on like Donkey Kong.
Immediately, Kolchinski covers it. Lethbridge goes as well. And you know why, Dave? In the past, I have a feeling that they've said, no, that'll get caught. But this is Lindsay Cassie's bread and butter. This is what she does. She takes the race to everybody, and she just believes in herself. And the thing is that's what Kolchinski used to do to these groups. Now, Kolchinski has a competitor that thinks the same way, and she knows it, and she knows she has to cover it. Alice Lethbridge is another one, maybe not as of recently over the last couple of months and over the recent Premier Division that I've seen perhaps doing these kind of moves, but I think the old Alice is back here, and she now makes a move as well. And they are 4 seconds up the road. This is not riders you want to let go. And Zoe Langham knows this, and is actually Zoe Langham's going to sit at the front. She's just rolling through, so it's actually going to be Luis Adagis that's going to have to make the move at the front here because Aeonian is not involved, Dave, and Cassie still has 2 seconds. She's not letting up.
Kolchinski's got to be loving this with a little bit of help from Alice Lethbridge here. This is her ideal situation now. So, obviously it's not perfect as you got to deal with Lindsay Cassie and Alice Lethbridge. That group is starting to come back, however, as well. Actually, let's go ahead and say no, it isn't, because Lou Bates, who's another huge talent in this group. Lou Bates has already been punching tickets out here today, but this gap is from Lindsay Cassie is 2.3 seconds back to Kolchinski, who is starting to leave Lethbridge behind. Well, Lethbridge fighting back, actually, to get back up onto the... What a race this is going to be. And, Nathan, we've gone inside of 2.7K to go.
They're gone. They're gone, Dave, because there's no motivation from Langham to make any kind of chase. There's no motivation from Bates to make any kind of chase. And Kolchinski, she's solo in this ride. Now at this point, like you said, this is the perfect situation for Kolchinski. As long as she can play her cards right against these two, they're gone at 12 seconds, Dave. There is not a left downhill in this race and not enough snowball from that pack behind unless they make a massive effort. Who from there is going to even want to chase this down? There's no... Aeonian are the ones who are missing out here. It's the world champions, Dave, that the world champion rider as well as Van Eyck that are not actually involved, and that's why they're at the front with Van Eyck at 6 watts per kilogram. They know they have to bring it back if they want to be involved for the final.
It is so hard to stay at such a high level all year long, and I get a feeling that Kristen Kolchinski is starting to ramp it up now as she obviously is prioritizing this race. These three are staying away in my book, and so now you start doing the math, right? Kolchinski here at worst will pick up 8 points, but for her, the real benefit is how greatly the points diminish as you go down the table, and there might not be enough points left for teams to overcome her squad. So this is absolutely perfect for Virginia Blue Ridge right now, Nathan. Back to you as the 3 leaders are together, Cassie, Lethbridge, and Kolchinski.
Made a mistake there, actually. It is also going to be Cyrus No Pins, my bad. Cyrus No Pins, Useni, and Van Houweling, obviously ones that we had talked about early on. They're doing some work at 6.5 watts per kilogram. It's 15 seconds at this point, but they've got to look at Usaini here now, making the chase happen. That's going to create the churn. Adegeest there with Van Houweling on the back, just sitting in. The work is being done at the front. And you can see it. It's the two teams that just have to. It's Aeonian and Saris Nopins that have to do the work. Adegeest and Van Houweling, they sit in. They're trying to get the speed as high as they can. The seconds are coming down just a little bit. At 14 seconds, at only a minute to a minute and a half climb, I think it's not quite possible. We'll see if they can set it up, Dave. Now Langham goes to the front, slows it down, though. She's not actually trying to speed it up. She comes down to 1 watt per kilogram. Now Van Eyck, though, pulls through. There's the speed that they're trying to give it the snowball.
Langham's perfect world is going to be her teammate Cassie taking the win in the 10 points and her picking up 6 points for 16 total for her Wahoo Lacole team. So they are still in play. That Wahoo Lacole is not going to be disappointed with the situation as it currently stands. Cassie is going to be caught. That's going to be Kolchinski making that connection here. Alice Lethbridge, the OG, is going to be right there. So Lethbridge back and in full effect. It's Cassie, Kolchinski, Lethbridge. Sounds like a law firm, but that's our front group at 3 right now. The gap's not going to be closed down. At 907 meters to go, Nathan, they're not going to make this catch. So these 3 will take the top 3 spots today.
The law firm is about to present to the judge, and that judge is the Titans reverse KOM at this point, Dave. And Alice Lethbridge is the first one to make her objection to this pack here. Cassie now makes it to the wheel. It looks like it's Kolchinski and Cassie neck and neck sitting on the wheel of Lethbridge, who's going to lead it out at 6 watts per kilogram. A dangerous move, but maybe Lethbridge saying enough is enough. I'll trust Lou Bates to take the win behind, and I'll lead this out just to make sure that I don't get a jump on me here. Does Cassie have the punch to go against these two? I don't know if she does have a sprint punch. She might want to go a little bit early up against the punch that is Kristen Kolchinski, as Kolchinski punches to 7 watts per kilogram.
As a top athlete, these are the moments that you train so hard for. You go to bed early, you eat right, because this is what matters. And there is no doubt that if Kristen Kolchinski can win this race, as far as team performance, this will go down as one of her best. Says right now she's had a tremendous amount of pressure put on her shoulders. Kolchinski realizes that she needs to win outright here, Nathan. She needs the 10 points. I don't know that the 8 are going to be enough for her team out of this group. So Kolchinski is going to absolutely channel her inner champion. Now it looks like we're down to 2, Cassie and Kolchinski. If Cassie wins, I think Wahoo Lacole is going to take it. If Kolchinski wins, I think they're going to take it. And this is it, Nathan.
8 watts per kilogram, right to the line. Here it is, the last 100 meters, and it's going to be Kolchinski. Enough to the line. Did you see the face? The teeth, the growl across the line there. Kolchinski takes it down. Now here's the fourth place. Lou Bates with her classic kick, 9 watts per kilogram. Van Houweling trying to come through. Zoe Langham looking to show that she's got something to the line. Langham might have done it. She may have done it, but I think perhaps Van Houweling nipped her there. It was 4th, 5th, and 6th there. But look at Kolchinski, the classic celebration we've seen so many times from her before, Dave. And she makes it happen for Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024. Now she's done the work. It's more about the math that's behind her and how the team stacked up against each other.
Let me give Josh Lipka some credit as well, because that was a bold decision to leave Kolchinski alone in that final race. They were counting on her getting the 10 points, the maximum bonification, because when you look at it now, Cassie and her teammate Langham will end up with 14 points. So that's only a 4-point delta between the two teams. Even though Kolchinski's the only rider on her team, she picks up 10, 14 there for Wahoo Lacole. So as we look at it now, Kolchinski for 10, it's Cassie in 2nd, Lethbridge in 3rd with 8, Bates in 4th with 7 points, Van Houweling in 5th with 6 points, Langham will end up in 6th, that's 5 points, Usaini in 7th place today, so coming up a little bit short, I would say, for Saris Nopins as well. And then Aeonian just didn't have what they were looking for, as they'll take 8th and 9th. So, Nathan, they're crunching the numbers right now. It's going to be incredibly close. What an exciting way to wrap things up. These are the total points on the day now, on the final event here today, the 11th race. And it was, so this 15 for soccer. Yeah, back to you, Nathan.
That might have done it for.
So how far back was Sox
it's a
for
tie,
Watts?
I think. That's it. I think it's a tie if I do the math, Dave. I think it's a tie for
And
Wahoo Lacole versus Blue Ridge 2024, and
so
Kolchinsky won.
I don't want. Yeah, I
That
was going to
might
say
have
I don't want to speak out of
this
school,
is
but I think
amazing. I know. I'm guessing. I'm
the
guessing that
count back.
she might have done it for them.
So I want to go to our producers to confirm that. But Nathan, I believe that the count back is going to be on the best individual result in that final race. And if that's the case, again, I'm not confirming that yet, but I believe that's the case, and meaning that Kolchinsky's win has a double importance here. She not only gets those 10 points, but by winning, she's going to take her team over the top. I want to hold on that for a moment, though, as we can confirm this is incredible excitement here for our finale. Can you believe that it was that close? And here we go, Nathan. They've just told me the results already.
And they did it.
There it is.
They did it,
And it was
Dave. 39 points, tied
this is
with
the biggest win
Wahoo
of Kristen
Lacole.
Kolchinsky's career. Biggest win
It's
of her
so
career, Nathan.
huge here, Dave. Amazing, because she just went up against some of the biggest hitters.
It's
Well, the
overwhelming.
biggest hitter. We just said it, Dave. Right? This is one of the strongest fields we've ever seen.
And
She
this
makes
was like
the
when
move
Luke
early on. She had to make.
This was like when Luke Skywalker attacked the Death Star, right? He had one shot. That was all that Kolchinsky had. She had to win out of that group, an incredibly strong field, and she pulled it off. I mean, that's immense pressure. She met the moment. That was huge. It really was. This was something that, Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 had been really building for a moment like this. And Nathan, this has got to put it over the top. I would imagine there is a lot of celebration on Discord right now.
They must be freaking out there, Dave. Absolutely. And honestly, Dave, going into this, I questioned the tactics big time. I was like, really? We're going to put all of that in the final race for one rider to try and pull this off? But they put their riders where they knew they could perform their absolute best. They got the points at the best that they possibly could in those earlier races. And then they said, we did what we could here. KK, do your thing. And Kristen Kolchinsky wins it outright against the rest of the field. That win for the tie, because she's first across the line, she ends up taking it down for them. I got to give a shout out though to the rest of the riders there. The move there from Lindsay Cassidy and Alice Lethbridge to go with that, amazing job, awesome show put on there. Lindsay Cassidy really stamping herself as at the same level as we're seeing with Kristen Kolchinsky, because that, you notice, Dave, last week it was Lindsay Cassidy first across the line. The following week, it was Kristen Kolchinsky now taking this win out right here. So I see a little bit of a rivalry heating up here for who's the strongest in the Grand Prix amongst the women. Let's go ahead and take a look at replays, how this played out, Dave.
Yeah, two very similar riders, Nathan, in ability and mindset as well. We'll have a lot of Lindsay Cassidy, Kristen Kolchinsky battles to enjoy over the years. This is where you can only imagine how deep they are digging. They both know the importance of this moment. And Kolchinsky, rose to the occasion. And I really think this is what esports is all about right here with this ride. A non-traditional athlete that really has stepped up, and man, that has got to feel great. That face is a stone cold killer. Does anybody want it more than Kristen Kolchinsky?
Absolutely love it. 100%. And, Dave, the cool thing is that was the two teams as well, right? Lindsay Cassidy representing Wahoo Lacole. And then we've got Kristen Kolchinsky representing Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 in a dead heat. And that sprint to the line just decided this round, the squad skirmish of the Women's Grand Prix. It doesn't get much better than that. That's what we've been looking for with this new genre of cycling in this formats, is those kind of head-to-heads. Couldn't be more played out in a tournament-type style, getting down to the last two strongest teams, strongest riders, battling it out, Titans Grove reverse, and we just saw the strongest woman win.
It's great to remember
that. Got to give it to the team, right, Dave? Got to give it to the team.
100%. I was just thinking about the director sportives who really stepped up out here. They had a lot on their plate, decisions to make. And in that case, Josh Lipka, big credit to you. You made a brave decision there, and it paid off. And this is what, the parity, Nathan, that we're seeing in esports right now, men and women, is making the racing so tremendously exciting. I mean, come on. At this point now, it's impossible to predict who's going to be winning these races. There's quite a few riders that keep their head above water all day long. They're in the mix. This is really, I think we're hitting a golden era of esports racing on Zwift right now. And man, is it fun to be along for the ride. We just wrapped up our third week of racing for the women. The men have also completed their third week of racing here in the Zwift Grand Prix. Nathan, this marks the halfway point of racing. I'd have to call it, in my mind, 5 stars out of 5 stars as far as excitement goes.
100%. It's been extremely exciting with the back-to-back racing. The head-to-heads, we couldn't see more head-to-head than we just saw as far as the teams, the individual riders. We've got series points now. How did this round end up for the overall series? After 3 rounds of racing, we see Wahoo Lacole at the top now, actually overtaking Aeonian, it looks like. Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 solidly in third place there with 43 points. They've got a little bit of distance to make up, but we've got a few rounds yet to go. We'll see what they can do. It's going to be Sox Watson fourth place there with 33 points. Sars No Pins in fifth place at 29 points. Movistar E-Team 27 points, standing at sixth place right now. Beast Mode presented by Rose. They only grabbed 2 points here, so now down to seventh there with 18. Team Swedish Swifters here, as you can see, also 18 points, tied there in eighth and seventh for points, but with the finishing places there, they're going to be in eighth. It's going to be Toyota Car DT, only 1 point behind there for ninth. It's going to be Coalition Alpha with 4 points in 10th. Roca Corba Collective in 11th place with 1 point. And Arrow are scratching and I believe are removing from the competition. We say as we say goodbye to them, and thanks for jumping in though as always. Well, Wahoo Lacole, the new queens of the mountain here, Dave, as Aeonian need to go back to the drawing board a little bit. We thought with the way the qualifications are going with our first 3 races that perhaps they were going to walk away with this one. Wasn't going to be the case. Wahoo Lacole, as well as Virginia's Blue Ridge, had something else to say about that.
It's interesting how week by week the fortunes can turn, and a simple twist of fate can change everything out here. And Nathan, there's something to be said for the motivation that teams can pick up too at this point in the season. Some teams are getting stronger, other teams are even having trouble filling out rosters out here. So it's going to be interesting. I think the rich get richer at this point. The teams that have been having success are really going to feed on that in the second half of the season here.
Yeah, and as we head into the colder times of the Northern Hemisphere and what seems to be usually the official Zwift season, you can actually fill your rosters for the next coming weeks here. Race McCurry Z Racing Stage 1 starts next week. You can jump into that. There's also the ZRL WTRL that is coming up for round number 2. You can go ahead and get signed up for that. And we'll be taking a break for a couple of weeks for the Grand Prix, but we'll be back for round 4 in November. So be on the watch out for that. Now make sure to head on over to Zwift.com/racing for all of the racing information that we were just talking about. You can find the Z Racing Series, the Tour of McCurry that we're going to be having as well. Some new roads coming at you with that. The ZRL WTRL round number 2. All that is listed over there. So go ahead and check that out. Again, it's Zwift.com/racing to join in for your racing out on the Zwift. Thanks everybody for joining us for round number 3 of the Zwift Grand Prix for the women. And as always, from myself and Dave Toll, ride on.